Hey, good afternoon, everybody. It is 6 minutes past the hour of 3 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. Brian Wilson in the chair, kicking off another week of the drive. You drive home, and then we'll try to figure out what's going on in the world and share that with you as our goal each day on this program, so that you arrive home and you've got all the information you need. And again, the news cycle has just been unrelenting. It seems as if there's just no lack of things to talk about. We, of course, over the weekend saw Joe Biden step away. As we predicted on this program many times, it felt like it was coming, and it did come on Sunday. And then about 1:45 East Coast time, I think about 12:45 our time, it all happened. And so there was that. It does now appear that, for the most part, Democrats are coalescing around Kamala Harris as the nominee. And then now questions are, how does she pair up against Trump? We'll get into that over the course of the show. And then the other part of it is, who will she choose as her running mate? It is fair to say that when a candidate runs for president, the first real judge of their ability to use good judgment is in who they choose as their running mate. And so sometimes the choices have been excellent. Sometimes the choices have left us wondering. So we'll be waiting to see all that. But I think the big story that I want to lead off with here in the 3 o'clock hour has to do with the hearing on Capitol Hill today with regards to the assassination attempt on Donald Trump. And testifying today was Kimberly Cheetle, the director of the Secret Service. And we've got a lot of sound here that I've collected. I've been listening most of the morning to this hearing. We'll start with the opening statement by Kentucky's James Comer, who is the chairman of the Oversight Committee.
A former president and current candidate for president was shot in the head by a sniper within 500 feet of the podium. This is unacceptable. And we are concerned the Secret Service lacks the proper management to keep protectees safe from bad actors. Americans demand answers, but they have not been getting them from the Secret Service. We are instead learning about new facts about the events surrounding the attempted assassination every day from whistleblowers and leaks. Americans demand accountability, but no one is yet to be fired for this historic failure. Today's witness, Secret Service Director Kimberly Cheetle, is here under subpoena to answer questions about how the agency failed President Trump and the victims who attended the rally in Butler, Pennsylvania. It is my firm belief, Director Cheetle, that you should resign.
And that was a constant refrain throughout the day, both from Republicans and from Democrats. I want to say that, by and large, Democrats ask really hard questions. Jamie Raskin is the ranking member, and I just pulled this bite because even though they asked very hard questions and more than a few Democrats called for Cheetle to resign, they just can't help themselves.
The shooter in Butler used his father's AR-15. We have to find the courage and resolve to pass a ban on the AR-15 and other assault weapons.
And again, that you heard that refrain more than a few times throughout the course of this morning's hearing. Here is what Cheetle had to say in her opening statement.
As a director of the United States Secret Service, I take full responsibility for any security lapse of our agency. We are fully cooperating with ongoing investigations. We must learn what happened, and I will move heaven and earth to ensure that an incident like July 13th does not happen again. Let me state unequivocally, nothing I have said should be interpreted to place blame for this failure on our federal, state, or local law enforcement partners who supported the Secret Service in Butler. We could not do our job without them.
Well, and that was pretty much, but did she have the answers? Well, members were getting frustrated. Here is Jim Jordan, who serves as the chairman of the Judiciary Committee.
So what I can tell you is that for the event in Butler, there were no requests that were denied. As far as requests...
Well, maybe they got tired of asking. Maybe you turned them down so darn much, they said, not worth asking. How many times did you turn them down ahead of that?
I think that it is important to distinguish between what some people may view as a denial of an asset or a request.
Well, is Mr. Guglielmi your spokesperson? He said he acknowledged the Secret Service had turned down some requests. I'm asking how many?
A denial of a request does not equal a vulnerability.
Well, tell me what it is.
There are a number of ways that threats and risks can be mitigated with a number of different assets, whether that be through personnel, whether that be through technology, or other resources.
Well, tell the committee which it was. They asked for additional help in some form or another. You told them no. How many times did you tell them no, and what did you tell them no to?
Again, I cannot speak to specific incidents, but I can tell you in general terms, the Secret Service is judicious with their resources based on...
What does some requests mean? How many times? Some indicate requests is plural. So more than once they asked for additional help and you turned them down. What did they ask for and how many times did you turn them down? Pretty basic questions.
So again, without having all of the details in front of me, sir, what I can tell you is that there are times...
You didn't get briefed on how many times you turned down the Trump detail when they asked for additional help?
I'm sorry.
You didn't get briefed on that before you came to this hearing, knowing you were going to get asked that question?
What I can tell you is that in generic terms, when details make a request, there are times that there are alternate ways to cover off on that threat or that risk.
But that's not what he said. He said they were denied certain requests, some requests. This is your spokesperson, not me talking. This is the Secret Service talking. And what a change from absolutely false, unequivocally false to, oh, by the way, there were some times where we didn't give them what they wanted. That's a huge change in 5 days. And the fact that you can't answer how many times you did that, that's pretty darn frustrating, not just for me, but for the country.
And he was very frustrated. Mike Turner is the chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, and he wanted to go into it with the Secret Service director with regard to the threat that has been we've heard about Iran wanting to take out Donald Trump.
Is an Iranian assassin more capable than a 20-year-old?
Sir, I think we've acknowledged that there was gaps and a failure that day.
When I raised this issue with Director Wray, he was incensed. He was shocked that the threat assessment of Iran did not seem to be, as he and I discussed, baked in to your security footprint and your threat assessment.
He's talking about the director of the FBI, Christopher Wray.
And he went on to say that the generalized threat that he has told the whole country that we are under from a potential terrorist threat. He has said we're under the highest threat level since 9/11, that the lights are flashing red. And he has specifically indicated that people have crossed the southern border as a result of the Biden administration's policy, and that there are in our country today terrorists and individuals who are affiliated with terrorist groups and organizations. That would be a heightened threat environment, Director Cheetle, would it not?
Yes.
In his public statements, he has said he is making these statements because he wants people to take them into consideration in threat assessments. Now, that would be a threat not just to Donald Trump, but it would also be a threat to the crowd there, wouldn't it?
Yes.
Are ISIS terrorists and Al-Qaeda terrorists and international groups and terrorists more capable than a 20-year-old in pulling off their mass shooting or an assassination of Donald Trump?
Sir, again, there was clearly a breakdown. Right. And a failure that day.
Have you read the intelligence of the terrorists that are currently in the United States that Director Wray speaks, and those individuals that are here that are affiliated with terrorist groups and organizations that are in the process, as Director Wray said, of representing a significant threat of a terrorist attack occurring in the United States?
I have read reports that apply specifically to the Secret Service's mission.
Because Donald Trump is alive, and thank God he is, you look incompetent. If Donald Trump had been killed, you would have looked culpable. There is no aspect of this that indicates that there has been any protection to Donald Trump. The threat was identified before he took the stage. President Biden needs to fire you because his life, Donald Trump's life, and all the other people which you protect are at risk because you have no concept of the aspect that the security footprint needs to be correlated to the threat.
That may have been the best Q&A of the whole hearing because Turner got her to answer at least some of the questions, even though they were just simple yes or no answers. Even Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who sat on the committee, was not pleased.
The idea that a report will be finalized in 60 days, let alone prior to any actionable decisions that would be made, is simply not acceptable. It has been 10 days since an assassination attempt on a former president of the United States, regardless of party. There need to be answers. Again, this party, this committee, this is not a moment of theater. We have to make policy decisions, and we have to make them now. We do. And that may require legislation. That may require policy that we must pass in the immediate term. And without that, we are flying blind. So the lack of answers and the lack of report is just simply not something that we can accept here.
Nancy Mace got rough with the Secret Service director and used the old, with borrowing from, past host of this program. She utilized the term bovine scatology.
This is a yes or no series of questions. Was this a colossal failure? Yes or no?
Yes.
Was this tragedy preventable? Yes or no?
Yes.
Has the Secret Service been transparent with this committee?
Yes.
You stated earlier, Secret Service is not political. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Would you say leaking your opening statement to Punchbowl News, Politico's playbook, and Washington Post several hours before you sent it to this committee as being political? Yes or no?
I have no idea how my statement got out.
Well, that's bullshit. You're full of ish today. You're just being completely dishonest. You're being dishonest or lying. You're being dishonest here with this committee. These are important questions that the American people want answers to, and you're just dodging and talking around it in generalities. And we had to subpoena you to be here, and you won't even answer the questions. We have asked you repeatedly to answer our questions. This isn't hard. We haven't gotten a single document or piece of information or data from you or your agency in related to the rally that we have asked you for.
All right, let's go to Representative Gary Palmer, who perhaps gave us a bit more information than we have known before about the explosives that the Secret Service found once the assassination attempt had been neutralized.
So how is it that all of these mistakes could be made? How many explosive devices were found on or near the site?
Again, I would have to defer you to the FBI.
Madam, I believe they were in his car, and I think there might have been one near a main gas line. It wasn't just the fact that he had a rifle. It was the fact that he had the ability to inflict enormous harm, enormous numbers of casualties had those devices exploded. This was a failure of historic magnitude. 43 years without anything like this happening. And you failed, in this case, in a spectacular way.
Yes, there were failures. That much is very clear. It was frustrating to members that they could not get answers to even basic questions. Questions that absolutely the director of the Secret Service should have at her disposal in an appearance before this body. She didn't even have a basic timeline of how things went down. A TikTok, which is rudimentary investigatory technique number one. Establish the TikTok. Establish the timeline. Well, Senator Ron Johnson of Wisconsin has put together a pretty good timeline, and I'll share that with you in just a moment. 20 minutes now past the hour. Say just a few more days to take advantage of this little thing that Busy Bee HVAC and Plumbing has got going on right now. If you purchase any new air conditioning unit, you qualify to enter to win a free 3-day beach vacation giveaway to Savannah, Georgia, valued at $3,000. They'll take care of the gas, the lodging, and 2 meals a day. And they'll announce that winner soon on Facebook. But you have to have purchased a new air conditioning unit in July to be eligible, and there'll only be one winner. But there's another thing you need to know. If your air conditioner's not working in the summer heat, why don't you call the number I would call, 615-775-7833. They'll buzz over to your house. And by the way, right now, in the month of July, if you have repair work done on your air conditioning, they will absolutely waive their $89 dispatch fee. If you buy a Beehive Club membership, which I suggest you do, you'll be allowed to give a free yearly Beehive membership to someone in your neighborhood. How about that? Financing, big projects, 0% for 18 months with approved credit on air conditioning projects or HVAC projects. Plumbing, 0% for 72 months with approved credit. They are, of course, your official root pro partner. Here's the number, 615-775-7833. Learn more at busybhvac.com.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
The GOP's vice presidential candidate holding his first solo campaign rally today. A major airline continues to deal with major impacts from Friday's IT outage, and another vehicle recall may be forthcoming. We'll have those stories at 3:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
It is 26 minutes now past the hour, 3 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. Jay Harper in the newsroom. We got Chris Weber in the control room, and I am your friend and radio buddy bringing you news all the way until 7 o'clock as we try to crank through all the stuff that's going on. So they didn't get a lot of answers out of Kimberly Cheetle today that were satisfying. She seemed to not know much and kept saying, well, I'm waiting on those answers myself. The FBI is conducting an investigation, and that seemed to be sort of her out out when things got, the questioning got a little too difficult. She didn't even have a timeline, which is pretty remarkable, because that's the basic thing you do in any internal investigation, is start to develop an after-action report with a timeline. And she wasn't able to provide much of that. Senator Ron Johnson of Wisconsin has done that, and it's pretty interesting. They start 8 days before the Trump rally, when the Secret Service first informed the Butler County Emergency Services that they would have a Trump rally there on the 13th. Then 5 days before the rally, they met with the Secret Service, the local folks did, regarding the rally, received information regarding the timeline of the event, etc., told them where it was going to be. The 3 days before the Trump rally, the Secret Service reportedly conducts a rally site visit at the Butler Farm grounds in advance of the event. And then there was on the day of the event at 9 a.m., Butler Emergency Services Unit holds a briefing for the local SWAT and sniper units from Butler County, Beaver County, and Washington County, providing security for the event. And according to the attendees of the briefing, the Secret Service, no Secret Service or other federal law enforcement were present for that briefing. At 9:27, we've got the shooter going into a Home Depot to buy a ladder, which apparently he did not use later, but they got pictures of him doing that. At 10:30 a.m. on the day of the shooting, 2 local law enforcement snipers are in position on the second floor inside that so-called AGR building. Crooks is first observed at 5:10 p.m. on the day of the shooting. The shooting, of course, taking place at 6:11, right? So at 5:10, that's about an hour beforehand, they first observed the shooter. And then at 5:14, one of the AGR sniper units, this is local units, takes a picture of Crooks from a high angle. At 5:28, AGR sniper takes the below picture of a bicycle and appears to be 2 bags located near the AGR building. A bicycle and 2 bags, which apparently belong to the shooter. At 5:32, the AGR sniper spots Crooks looking at his phone and using a rangefinder. 5:38, the sniper sends a message to the sniper group about this individual. At 5:40, AGR sniper is told to call into command regarding the shooter, who eventually became the shooter. 5:41, they called into command and provides a description of Crooks and the rangefinder, as well as the fact that Crooks was lurking around the AGR building. 5:49, photos of Crooks are sent to the Butler ESU command. 5:55, the ESU command confirms receipt of the photo and states that they've been relayed on to key players. 5:59, Butler ESU command asked for direction that Crook is traveling. They apparently had lost him at this point. AGR sniper is initially unsure of the direction Crooks is traveling. 6:05, remember, Donald Trump is on the stage at 6 o'clock. The AGR sniper at 6:05 communicates that Crook is seen moving northeast in the direction of the Sheetz gas station, and he has a backpack. 6:06 to 6:12, AGR sniper goes to ground floor of the building to meet local law enforcement to alert them to Crook's presence. At approximately 6:11, Crooks begins shooting. Secret Service returned fire, and Crooks is killed. There is then an unusual thing in that the first people to get on the roof were the local sniper team, and they apparently took pictures that were sent to a number of someone associated with the ATF. Why that is happening, no one is not quite sure. The big news out of this, I think, is that this guy was on their radar for a long time, and yet no one seemed to walk over and engage with the individual beforehand. And he was very quick to get to the roof and very quick to get down to his business once he got there. Time for the news now at 31 minutes past the hour.
Good afternoon. Yes, it is 3:31. I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. Partly sunny. We do have a lot of clouds, though. 86 degrees now on Music Row. The full weather forecast and a traffic report are coming up. Senator J.D. Vance holding his first solo campaign rally since being selected to be the former President Trump's running mate. ABC's Dave Packer reports.
J.D. Vance back in his suburban Cincinnati, Ohio hometown, telling his old neighbors that his life there may have been tough, but it was full of love and more.
It was surrounded by something that if we don't fight is not going to be around for the next generation of kids, and that's opportunity. Middletown had opportunity, and we got to make sure it's there for the next generation.
In addition to Ohio, the Trump campaign hoping Vance's blue-collar roots will play well in other Rust Belt states, including Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania. Dave Packer, ABC News.
Delta Airlines continues to deal with major impacts from Friday's IT outage linked to cybersecurity software and some Windows machines. Delta has had to cancel over 800 flights today. ABC's Alex Stone has the latest info.
In a new update, Delta Airlines says its teams are working around the clock to get everything back up and running again, and that half of Delta's computers are Windows-based, and each one has to be repaired individually and brought back online. Delta says it's extending a travel waiver, allowing customers to make a one-time change to plans. Passengers impacted can get a refund, and Delta says it will cover eligible food and meal expenses of those who have been impacted.
An investigation has begun into some Ram and Jeep vehicles that can suddenly just turn off. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, they say they've gotten almost 100 complaints so far from owners who say their Ram pickups or Jeep Wagoneer SUVs are stalling or just going off completely, often at low speeds. The drivers say then they can't get them restarted again. There have been reports that the vehicles can lose power while driving, then shift into park and apply the emergency brake. A recall could be issued, but right now it's just an investigation. That is the latest news. Traffic and weather there next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionability, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.
It's 38 minutes past the hour of 3 o'clock. Brian Wilson in the chair all the way till 7 o'clock tonight, and we're bringing you, the plethora of news, the cornucopia of news that keeps coming. I mean, it's just like it won't stop. It was it was Sunday afternoon where we were back on the air again in an unexpected way. All the guys sort of answered the bell again as we learned that Joe Biden was indeed going to step away as the candidate, though not step away as president. Now, in a few minutes, at the beginning of the 4 o'clock hour, I will go into greater detail on what we know about how that decision came about. It's taken a while to find out exactly how he came to that decision, which was very tightly held that this discussion was even being had until the announcement was made. But in the meantime, he has endorsed Kamala Harris, his running mate, to be the nominee. How's that going to work out? We'll go to it. But she was speaking today, and she had nothing but nice things to say about Joe Biden.
Joe Biden's legacy of accomplishment over the past 3 years is unmatched in modern history. In one term, he has already, yes, you may clap.
And there it is, ladies and gentlemen. That last little bit. This is the thing that's going to drive people crazy. It's that laugh.
You may clap.
I mean, how long do you think the American people will be able to stand this? Can you think of listening to this for 4 years? I mean, really.
Please stop it.
I know. I'm driving away listeners every time I do that. But it is irritating. And look, I hate to say this, but things like that can kill a candidacy. They really can. So even though it appears that the Democrats are coalescing around Kamala, Jen Psaki over on MSNBC pointed out that, you know what, it's still going to be an open convention likely and she talked about what the process would be like.
Now, there are questions here because there's nearly 4,000 delegates at the DNC. They were not, even if President Biden had stayed in, they were not legally bound. That's not how the Democratic nomination process works. There's a conscience clause that hasn't been tested many times. But as I understand it, they could have decided. Now, they were all Biden delegates, so many of them probably wouldn't have done this. But they could have decided to vote for somebody else. Somebody else needed 300 delegates to be kind of viable in consideration. So I think the question now is, what does the process look like? They've definitely been discussing what this looks like, but just because the president endorses, it doesn't mean all 4,000 come her way. So there'll have to be a lot of work on behind the scenes. There are deadlines for state ballots, including Virginia, Washington State, that are at the very front end of the Democratic convention. So even if others wanted to throw themselves in the ring, this would all be happening in all likelihood remotely. There's not going to be a battle on the floor like a West Wing episode.
Oh, well, there goes, no need to pop the popcorn. No need to watch now. And look, who knows what's going to happen, but I will say that I've looked at the list of people who have come out, Democrats, key Democrats, who have come out and shown their support for Kamala as the candidate going forward, and it's considerable. I mean, most of the Democrats in the House, I think, or maybe all the Democrats in the Senate, we've heard the key leaders have, notable exception has been Barack Obama, who simply, and we've been told, don't read too much into that. He just doesn't get involved in making those kinds of endorsements. But, you know, he notably did not offer his endorsement, while everyone else was this weekend, including the Clintons, offering their endorsement of Kamala Harris. What is the rap on Kamala Harris? Well, you know it. We've talked about it before. She has a way of talking in circles, what we call the Kamala word salad.
So I think it's very important, as you have heard from so many incredible leaders, for us at every moment in time, and certainly this one, to see the moment in time in which we exist in our present.
Right.
And to be able to contextualize it, to understand where we exist in the history and in the moment as it relates not only to the past, but the future.
I still don't know what she's talking about. And
free your mind, Brian. Come on.
I guess not. You know, we often like to have our deep thoughts with Kamala.
So there are 2 pots of water and 2 frogs. And in one pot, you put the frog in the water and you slowly turn up the heat. And that frog's just hanging out as the heat just slowly gets hotter to the point that water starts to boil and that frog perishes. In the other pot of water, you first turn up the heat real high. The water's boiling, you drop that frog in, he'll jump right out. The lesson there, as far as I'm concerned, don't be that first frog.
Yeah. I think we can all agree we don't want to be the first frog. All right, well. And sometimes her answers, she seems to almost be talking down to people. They're so simplistic.
So Ukraine is a country in Europe. It exists next to another country called Russia.
Okay.
Russia is a bigger country. Russia is a powerful country. Yeah. Russia decided to invade a smaller country called Ukraine. So basically that's wrong.
Was that in like a 3rd grade classroom?
She was being interviewed, and somebody said, "Explain for people who don't know a lot about the Russia-Ukraine thing," and that was her explanation. Well, you got Ukraine; it's right next to Russia. Russia is bigger, and Russia invaded Ukraine. Like who do you think you're talking to? I mean, giving somebody the explanation that they need to understand that. I think most Americans get that basic set of facts, right? I don't think you have to go down to 1st grade level. And the thing that I think you should also know is she was the border czar who did nothing about the border and does not want to treat illegal aliens as if they are, well, indeed, illegal aliens.
I am in favor of saying that we're not going to treat people who are undocumented across the border as criminals. That's correct. That is correct.
She doesn't believe in doing things that would help our energy situation. She is among those who is against fracking.
There's no question I'm in favor of banning fracking. So, yeah, and starting with what we can do on day one around public lands, right? And then there has to be legislation. But yes, and this is something I've taken on in California. I have a history of working on this issue. And to your point, we have to just acknowledge that the residual impact of fracking is enormous in terms of the impact on the health and safety of communities.
And she believes that the illegal aliens who are in this country, illegal immigrants who are in this country, well, she believes there should be a pathway to citizenship for them.
There is no question that our immigration system is broken. And so much so that we, as the first bill that we offered after our inauguration, was to fix the immigration system, which included what we must do to create a pathway for citizenship and to put the resources that are needed into the border. But sadly, people on the other side of the aisle have been playing politics with this issue. The solutions are at hand. And, gone are the days, sadly, where a President Bush or John McCain understood that we should have a bipartisan approach to fixing this problem, which is a long-standing problem.
But what are those solutions?
The solution includes putting resources at the border to do what we can to process people effectively and putting in place laws that actually allow for a meaningful pathway to citizenship.
She's all about that. She's all about taking people who came to this country illegally and making them citizens of this country. Just know that this is where Kamala stands. Look, the numbers for Kamala against Trump, they're pretty similar to where we were with Biden. It's about 2 points that Trump leads Harris in the hypothetical polls. They always run these polls. They say, well, Trump, Biden will no longer, nothing that we talk about with Biden is operable anymore because he's no longer going to be the nominee. So they've been asking for a while, some of the major polling companies, well, what if it were to be Harris against Trump? And when you add up all those numbers and average them out, it comes to about 2 points where Trump leads Harris. Roughly 2 points. On favorability, Trump is about 3 points ahead of Kamala Harris and the unfavorable margin, unfavorable number. So there's that. By the way, there is one quick poll, snap poll that was done in one battleground state, the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, asked, okay, if it's Trump versus Harris, and in the state of Georgia, which is, of course, a key battleground state, how would it come out? And in Georgia, they say it will be Trump +5 over Harris, 5 points. And that's the first real snap poll that we've gotten about the battleground state. So I don't anticipate the numbers changing a lot. And this is the good news, I think, is that the more people are exposed to Kamala Harris, the worse her numbers will become, because she's just not a great campaigner. And she's sort of irritating, and she's got that, and she just can't control that. So somebody needs to tell her to stop doing that, but she just can't. She just keeps doing it and doing it and doing it. So she's got a work cut out for her. I'm not too worried about her. In Kentucky, and this is interesting, Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear has endorsed Vice President Harris for president Monday amid speculation over whether he could serve as her running mate. I'm excited to fully endorse Vice President Harris for the next president of the United States. The vice president is smart and strong. Well, I don't know. She's not that smart, really, honestly. I mean, she's just not. And she doesn't really like to do her homework. Her staff, she's reviled by staff. She's also has kind and has empathy. Well, you haven't been working on her staff if you feel that way. Beshear has posted his profile among Democrats by winning the governorship of a ruby red state. He defeated Trump-backed GOP challenger to win re-election last year in a state that former President Trump won in 2016 and 2020. So, they're probably looking pretty close at Bashir as the running mate here. And actually, of all the names, and there's a ton of names, I'll go through some of them, but it seems to me that Bashir is the one that makes the most sense. If what you need to do is convince people in red states, he's found the formula to that. He is a Democrat who has won re-election. This is his second term as governor in a very red state. He's a blue Democrat, so a moderate Democrat, but blue nonetheless. Real quick, I'm just going to give you some names here. Pete Buttigieg, North Carolina, Roy Cooper, talked about Mark Kelly, Senator Mark Kelly of Arizona, former astronaut. Governor Wes Moore of Maryland is talked about as a potential running mate. Gavin Newsom is talked about as a potential running mate, although I think there's some problems there. Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker is mentioned. Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro. Senator Raphael Warnock of Georgia has been mentioned as someone. Minnesota Governor Tim Walz. Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer has taken her name out of contention for the vice presidential running mate, saying that she wants to stay in Michigan. 52 now past the hour.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionality, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.
Both sides of the aisle calling for the Secret Service director to resign. Democrats now boasting about fundraising in the wake of Joe Biden's dropping out of the presidential race, and some lawmakers not just satisfied with him dropping out, they want him to resign the presidency immediately. We'll have those stories at 4 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Let's take a look at the markets. All screens are green here today. Not a bad day after sort of a rough week last week. Dow Jones Industrials up 128 points. The S&P up about 59. NASDAQ had a really good day, up about 1.5%, 280 points in the green. So all screens are green. What's driving it? Let's check in with John Maxon over at Beacon Capital Management. Hello, John.
Hey, good afternoon, Brian. Yeah, great day on the market today as compared to last week. A little bit of a break, and I think a lot of people thought the market was going to try to digest what happened over the weekend with President Biden exiting the race. But really what the market was looking at today was the potential interest rate path of the Fed, and we're about to enter into the heart of earnings season, especially with big tech, which has really driven a lot of the market return this year. That starts really tomorrow after hours with Tesla. Interesting side note, oil is hovering at about the lowest level it's been at since June. That's going to be good for inflation long term. We're also going to get the Fed's one of the Fed's favorite inflation gauges later this week, the PCE index. So we're about to enter into a lot of earnings. We'll see what that looks like and some inflation data as the week goes on.
All right, thank you, John. And find out all the things that Beacon Capital Management can do for you as you get ready for your retirement. Just go to their website, askbeaconnow.com. 59 minutes now, past the hour. Say, if you're in the market for a pole barn, you need to talk to the two brothers that run Stoltzko. I mean, they got all the information you'll ever need. They're known for exceptional quality, craftsmanship, and fair prices. They can build your new pole barn to your specifications with your needs in mind. That is the Stoltzko difference. You can use pole barns for all kinds of things. It can function as a classic tool and work barn, a garage, or even a place to live. Flexibility is key. They combine the classic post-frame barn look with the reliability of modern materials and techniques to give you a finished barn that will stand the test of time. They don't scrimp on quality. They don't cut corners. They believe their customers deserve the best. So do me a favor, go to their website, stoltzco.com, that's STOLTZCO.com, and take a look at the things they've done for other people, and then you're going to want to call this number, 615-5992. I'm sorry, it's 615-622-5992. Stoltzco, where quality workmanship and great customer service is affordable. Learn more at stoltzco.com. That's stoltzco.com.
Good afternoon. It's 1 minute past 4 p.m. I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. Cloudy conditions, 84 degrees, a full forecast, and the latest traffic report are just moments away. Democrat Jamie Raskin out of Maryland now among lawmakers calling for the resignation of Secret Service Director Kim Cheetle following her testimony at a House Homeland Security hearing over the attempted assassination of former President Trump. Raskin, the ranking member, says Cheetle has lost the confidence of Congress.
The director has lost the confidence of Congress at a very urgent and tender moment in the history of the country, and we need to very quickly move beyond this.
Big fundraising numbers for the Harris campaign in the 24 hours since she announced that she's running for the Democratic nomination. ABC's Cameron Travers reports.
The Harris campaign says it has raised $81 million in the last 24 hours. That's from donations to the campaign, DNC, and joint fundraising committees. ABC cannot independently verify these numbers until they're reported to the FEC. The campaign says more than 888,000 donors made donations in the past 24 hours, 60% of whom made their first contribution of this election cycle. A spokesperson for the Harris campaign calls this fundraising haul, quote, grassroots energy and enthusiasm that wins elections.
Today, House Speaker Mike Johnson continues his call for President Biden to resign from office after dropping out of the race for the White House. Johnson citing what he calls Biden's diminished capacity.
House Speaker Mike Johnson says if President Biden is not suited to run for office, he's not sure if Biden is suited to serve the country. Johnson speaking a day after Biden's decision to leave the race for the White House. Johnson says the 25th Amendment seems appropriate. That amendment removes Biden from office. It's a move only Vice President Harris and Biden's cabinet can do. No sign that's happening. Perry Russum, ABC News, Washington.
And that is the latest news. Traffic and weather are next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lockboxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
It's 8 minutes now past the hour, 4 o'clock, hour number 2 of the drive, kicking off here on Super Talk 99.7. How you doing? We've got a very temperate 80 degrees outside. Still a little humid. I am ready for some more of that rain we saw. It's nice to have a little rain over the weekend, but boy, I could sure use a lot more. I don't know about you. We're on top of the big breaking stories. This thought hit me over the weekend. I actually put it out on the Facebook feed that, sometimes in the news business, the news comes at you with the speed of a bullet, as it did in the assassination attempt on Donald Trump. And then sometimes news comes at you in slow motion. 27 days since the debate, I think it is, and 20-something days, whatever. But it took that long for Joe Biden to be convinced of something that most people were convinced of that very night, the night of the debate, that he was not going to be the nominee. And Democrats immediately started calling for him to step aside, and he got his back up and said he wasn't going to do it, and then everything he did just got worse and worse and worse. And so finally, it reached critical mass, as I predicted it would. On Sunday, we got the word that he was stepping aside. But what was going on behind the scenes? Would you like to know? I found a couple of stories that I think sort of get at that. It's actually, one of these is from NBCnews.com, and it's beautifully written. Let me just go through it here and read some of it. I think it'll give you some insight as to what was going on behind the scenes. Surrounded by a handful of trusted advisors and First Lady Jill Biden at his vacation home on the Delaware coast Saturday evening, President Joe Biden reflected on a political career that spanned more than half a century and began to conclude that it would reach its end earlier than planned, according to people familiar with this decision. Isolated, frustrated, and angry, he felt betrayed by allies who turned on him in his hour of need. Quote, "He's really pissed off," said a person in touch with Biden's inner circle. Mad as he was, and by the way still is, Biden came grudgingly to accept that he could not sustain his campaign with poll numbers slipping, donors fleeing, and party luminaries pushing him to exit. He may have been slower than other Democrat insiders to make that calculation, but he fully understood it by Saturday night. In separate phone calls on Sunday, listen to this. Biden told his Vice President Kamala Harris, his White House Chief of Staff, Jeff Zients, and his campaign chair, Jen O'Malley Dillon, that he would abandon his reelection effort. The fact that he had to inform them in such a manner underscores the degree to which his circle had tightened in recent days to family members and a few longtime aides and advisors. The outcome may not have surprised White House and campaign officials, but the timing did. Most found out along with the rest of the world. In other words, when you and I found out about it, that's when they found out about it. Biden published his post on X. The same was true for Democrat National Committee officials and state party chairs. Senior Biden aides scrambled to set up separate meetings to talk to staff members for the White House and the campaign, reassuring the political aides that their jobs were safe. As it always is, the end was abrupt, but it came after a hellish 25-day stretch sparked by the most disastrous debate performance in modern American political history. On June 27th, Biden failed to reassure fellow Democrats, or enough of them, in follow-up appearances. Major donors cut off money to his campaign, and the party, in its drip, drip, drip fashion, elected officials started to call him for him to drop out and to drop his bid. Former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, the godmother of the Democrat Party, said she still had a decision to make and insisted he had chosen to stay in the race, and that was on Saturday. He apparently spoke with Pelosi on Saturday, although her office has denied that report. Senior Biden aides had expected that the heat was about to be turned up another notch, with Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer and House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, both Democrats from New York, likely to publicly call for him to step aside after his meeting with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu this week. That's still on as far as we know. On Sunday morning, everybody met again, keeping things incredibly tight after deciding on Saturday night that they would sleep on it. And so this happened. So by the time Biden convened a call with his full complement of senior advisors at 1:45 p.m. on Sunday, an official announcement announcing his decision had already been written in advance. 1 minute later, it went out on X. It was interesting, by the way, how it went out. First of all, he made no mention of Kamala Harris in the first statement. Simply it was, I've decided for my own personal reasons to step away. It's become clear I can't make it, there's no pathway to victory, and so I step away, and that was it. And so when we first went on the air, we were saying, well, I wonder if he's going to endorse Kamala Harris. Then there was a second tweet, or whatever you want to call it, that came out a few minutes later in which he did endorse Kamala Harris. Interesting that he broke those up. Very, very interesting. RedState.com adds a little bit more to the story. In another sign of how the president's decision stunned even his own staff, his Delaware-based campaign leadership concluded a staff call with state aides just minutes before Biden released his letter withdrawing from the race. In other words, they were still out there pushing this idea that Biden was going to stay in the race. I don't think a soul in Delaware knew, said the official, alluding to the Biden staff, campaign staff. Biden advisor Anita Dunn conducted an all-hands call to tell the White House staff after Biden had announced it. Dunn told the staff that they were all processing at the same time, implying that she herself was not aware beforehand. And she confirmed that it was an extremely small group of people who knew that Biden had made that decision. New York Post reports that Biden delayed dropping out partly because he doubted Kamala Harris's chances against Donald Trump and had real concerns about that. Still, Biden ultimately ended up endorsing Harris, age 59, when he revealed he was stepping aside Sunday, weeks after his train wreck debate against Trump threw his campaign into disarray. Speaking of Biden, it is strange that there was no picture, no photo opportunity, nothing to tape, nothing to camera, nothing at all. He has not been seen since he went into COVID isolation in Delaware. Not been publicly seen since the letter released that he would no longer seek re-election. And that's making people wonder, well, what kind of condition is he in? Of course, a lot of Republicans immediately said, well, if you can't run for re-election, if you don't have what it takes to run for re-election, how can you possibly run the country? And it's a pretty good point, but they're not answering that question. And there's no indication that Biden is considering stepping down. That would be interesting. Here's Fox News. Biden hasn't been seen since bombshell 24 announcement as COVID isolation continues. That is a really, again, very strange thing. When will we see him again? Is he okay? I mean, the last picture we have of him really is him taking the walk up the short stairs in which he looked like he could barely get on the aircraft. And then when he arrived, on the other end to go to the Rehoboth Beach House, he literally, it looked like, if you watch the video, and there's been not a lot said about this, but it looked almost as if the Secret Service had to pick him up and put him in the car. He just didn't have the strength, it would seem. Republicans, of course, saying Biden should resign immediately, not fit to serve. You got that from the Speaker of the House, Elise Stefanik, the number 3 Republican in the House, said that should happen. Steve Scalise thinks it should happen. I mean, a lot of Republicans believe he should step down. However, it doesn't appear that is in the offing in any way. Here's what Donald Trump had to say about Joe Biden dropping out. Former President Donald Trump reacted to Joe Biden's decision to drop out following Biden's inability to recover from a series of missteps and a poor debate performance. Crooked Joe was not fit to run for president and is certainly not fit to serve and never was. He only attained the position of president by lies, fake news, and not leaving his basement. All those around him, including his doctor and the media, knew he wasn't capable of being president, and he wasn't. And now look what he's done to our country. With millions of people coming across our border, totally unchecked and unvetted, many from prisons, mental institutions, and a record number of terrorists, we will suffer greatly because of his presidency, but we will remedy the damage he has done very quickly and make America great again. Now the Republicans have to decide how they run the campaign and how they adjust the campaign and make the mid-course corrections to run against what it appears to be Kamala Harris, although we're not even sure who her running mate is going to be, and she may not officially clinch this nomination and until we get to the convention, which is scheduled for August 19th through the 23rd. All right. Then there's this. Tennessee U.S. senators call for Biden to resign. Tennessee's 2 United States senators, according to Channel 4, are calling for President Joe Biden to resign after making the announcement Sunday he would no longer seek to run for re-election. Finally, Joe has realized what the rest of American people and even his own party already knew. He is not only the wrong leader for America, but he's wholly incapable of doing the job of President of the United States. Blackburn said in a statement, if Joe's too weak to stay in the race for the presidency, he should resign as our commander-in-chief immediately. Haggerty, this is an unprecedented and disgraceful crisis of presidential leadership. There you go. He should resign and stop endangering the nation and stop risking the security and the well-being of the American people, Senator Bill Haggerty. 20 minutes now past the hour. You know, we wish it were true, but it's not true. There are no pills or spinal creams or any magic way to open up your spinal disc and take pressure off your nerves. You have a couple of choices here. One of them is to undergo the knife, to undergo surgery. And then the second one is to try non-invasive spinal decompression. I mean, why wouldn't you want to try that first before you went to the most radical of the options? I chose non-surgical spinal decompression at the Wellness Institute of Nashville, and it has helped me with the problems I have in my neck and my lower back. Now, their state-of-the-art facilities and their high-tech equipment offer the latest non-surgical procedures. And because getting better is so important, Dr. Kevin Mitchell and Dr. Ashley are offering half-off spinal decompression treatments and half off their KT knee machine, which is revolutionary. It's like spinal decompression for the knee. If you're a new patient, you come in, you have an examination, you sit down and talk to the docs, and then they will go undergo your first treatment, and all of that, $23. So half off the non-surgical spinal decompression, and then your first consultation is only $23. I'm Brian Wilson, and I put my stamp of approval on the Wellness Institute of Nashville. Call them today at 615-246-5009. Learn more at painisbad.com.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
Senator J.D. Vance campaigning solo today with his sights set firmly on Kamala Harris. And we'll have today's money news. We'll get to that at 4:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
It is 25 minutes now past the hour of 4 o'clock. You know, we got a lot going on here. It was a beautiful weekend over the weekend. Got a little rain. We actually, Chris had a few people from the radio station over. I know you were over not long ago, along with Johnny B. And we had Matt Murphy over earlier with his wife, But we had Dan Mandis and Chris Hand and his crew over for the weekend for a little pool party. And then our new program director, Paul Mason, was there as well.
Oh, nice.
And yeah, it's nice. A nice gathering and beautiful. We got a nice little shower just before everybody arrived. So very pleasant. But I got to tell you, I've said it before, I'll say it again. Chris Hand has the cutest group of kids I've ever seen in my life. So incredibly polite and well-behaved. And so they arrived, right? And we sort of heard them come through the back gate, and the dog was going crazy. So we walked out to greet them. And each of the 4 children had a bouquet of flowers for Cabana wife.
Oh, look at that.
Isn't that nice?
Yeah.
It just melted our hearts. And so really lovely. He's got an adorable family, just lovely family. And it was good to hang out with Chris and to hang out with Dan Mandis and Amy, and also to get to know our new program director a little better. And just a very pleasant afternoon. And it looks like this week is not going to be as bad. I looked at the forecast earlier. Let me just look at it real quick, because I think we're gonna be in a better way on potential showers. Let's see what we got going.
You're right. I think there's a chance pretty much every day this week.
Yeah, I got it right here. I just pulled up the wrong thing. Yeah, tomorrow, 60% chance. Wednesday, a 60% chance. Thursday, a 55% chance. These are your afternoon convective showers, generally, when you see that kind of chance. Friday, 40% chance. Then it looks like Saturday we get a break, but then Sunday again, more rain. Monday more. Well, I hope so, because if we can get enough of those little rain showers over the course of a week, and the temperatures stay, as balmy as they are now, make that 80 degrees, that would be great. That would really repair a lot of the summer damage. Because tell you, we had a stretch there where it was really, really, really hot. We probably will have another stretch.
Probably, yes.
Because we got to still go through all of August before things start to turn a little bit.
Yeah, don't remind me.
Yeah, I know. Very quickly, the campaign, the Trump campaign is in full gear now. That we are past the convention and we know who Trump's running mate is going to be. J.D. Vance was on the campaign trail today in his hometown, and he wants everybody to know he's grateful.
Nobody's ever perfect. No politician is perfect, certainly not me. But you deserve to be led by people who are grateful for the community they came from, who are grateful for this country and its boundless opportunities, who are grateful for the service of our veterans and the people who put their lives on the lines, from police and firemen on down. I believe that you deserve to be led by people who are grateful. And I know that President Trump is grateful for this country, and I know that I am, and I know we're never going to stop fighting to give you the same opportunities that we got. That's what this whole thing's all about.
That's what it's all about. I thought it was the hokey pokey was what it's all about, but I guess this is what it's all. No, I mean, really, he's a good public speaker. He's way better than Kamala Harris is as a public speaper. And it'll be interesting to see who Kamala Harris picks, and then will there be a vice presidential debate? But I have no doubts whatever, nothing but confidence that J.D. Vance could handle just about anybody that they put up against him. He's got a real gift for words and a real way of communicating. And as they like to say, I like the cut of this guy's jib. I like the way he handles himself on the stage. He's been out. He's done a couple of interviews, I think, now with major news organizations alongside Donald Trump. I like the teaming. I like the way it's shaping up. And let's just find out what exactly the Democrats are going to do for sure and get after it. Right now, 30 minutes past the hour.
Good afternoon. Yes, it is 4:30. I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. Mostly cloudy, and we have got 80. Well, no, we're down to 80 degrees. Pardon me. Yeah, 80 degrees on Music Row. A full forecast and traffic coming up. The Republican attacks on Vice President Kamala Harris are in full force. Vice presidential candidate J.D. Vance on the campaign trail today for the first time since President Biden dropped out and endorsed Kamala Harris. Vance says he doesn't think she's grateful for America. ABC's Perry Russum is in Washington.
In J.D. Vance's hometown of Middletown, Ohio.
I will never forget where I came from.
After talking policy,
we're going to drill, baby, drill. We're going to shut down that border. We're going to put America's citizens first.
Vance diving right into attacks on Vice President Kamala Harris.
If you want to lead this country, you should feel grateful for it. You should feel a sense of gratitude. And I never hear that gratitude come through when I listen to Kamala Harris.
Perry Russum, ABC News, Washington.
Now with some money news, here's ABC's Andy Field.
From ABC News, Wall Street Now. Many U.S. stocks regaining losses following last week's global CrowdStrike computer issue. Airlines took the biggest hit in that outage. Delta feeling it on Wall Street. Its stock lost 3.5%. CrowdStrike blaming a faulty computer update sent to Windows computers. Its stock down more than 8% Monday morning after an 11% drop on Friday. Big tech stocks appear to be the biggest winners. Google parent Alphabet and Tesla will report profits Tuesday. China's ruling Communist Party releasing a 50-page roadmap addressing its struggling economy and cutting interest rates to help property owners. Wall Street has its eye on politics. Bank stocks up on predictions they would see less regulations if Republicans win this fall. But President Biden's announcement he's out of the race did not seem to affect the market. One analyst saying investors thought Mr. Biden's leaving was only a matter of when, not if.
That is the latest news. Traffic and weather are next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Let me tell you about the folks at Eurofix. They have a very, very different business philosophy. They staff all their locations with more staff than your average auto repair shop, just so they can be ready when your emergency pops up out of nowhere. Have you ever noticed how hard it can be to get a right now appointment for vehicle repair? Some dealers can be more than 2 weeks out just to get an appointment, but not at Eurofix. Eurofix has been offering quality repairs that beat the dealer without dealer pricing since 1999. Plus a 3-year nationwide warranty and, importantly, the staff to fix your car now. If you're tired of waiting forever to get your car into the shop, call Eurofix. Owner Aaron Stokes says we will never be too busy for our customers. We are here to take their pain away now. Eurofix repairs all European cars, and Eurofix says yes to speedy repairs when others can't or won't. Family owned for 24 years. Call 844-EUROFIX or visit myEurofix.com. That's myEurofix.com.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lockboxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
It's 37 minutes now past the hour. Listen, there's been so much going on, and these stories are of incredible importance to people who listen to this radio station, that I'm going to do something a little different that I normally don't do in the middle of the week. I mean, sometimes we go to you with a question, but I just want to sort of do a Phone Your Farb Friday on a Monday. If you have things that you want to talk about that are in the local news cycle right now, I mean, where maybe you want to talk about the hearing today up on Capitol Hill, or questions about the assassination attempt. That's fair game. If you want to talk about where the campaign is now that Joe Biden has stepped out of the ring and has endorsed Kamala Harris, as have many other Democrats, that'll be great. So, listen, whatever's on your mind today with regard to these stories that we're covering, 615-737-9986. Would love to have your thoughts about that. So again, sort of think of it as a free-for-all, but really mostly talk about the things that are going on right now it's been such a news cycle. I mean, really unbelievable, starting with the assassination attempt, and then the continual follow-up on that, and now the other stuff that's going on with regard to the campaign. So to the phone lines we go. Again, that number is 615-737-9986. Let's start with Rick in Nashville. Hey, Rick, you're up with Brian on the drive.
Brian.
What's on your mind here, buddy?
Brian, thanks for taking my call. I just want to call you. I'm sure you are aware that ever since the Trump shooting happened, that the internet and social media has exploded with information and theories and speculation about how this was done. I wanted to call you because I recently viewed a channel on YouTube, and the man who owns the channel went to the director of the National Center for Media Forensics at the University of Denver, and he did an audio analysis of the shooting. And as I said, this man presented this in a video on YouTube, and it's very compelling evidence that there is more than one shooter involved in this.
Well, let me jump in here for a moment, because I will say that even Senator Ron Johnson says the same thing that you're saying, that he's seen some of these analyses and that indeed it sounds like that there are more than one shooter. Well, what we do know, if for sure, is that there were 3 different shots being fired from different locations. We know that for sure the shooter was shooting from on top of that building. I mean, eyewitnesses have that dead to rights, and then they killed him. We also know that there were 2 sniper teams that took shots, and they took them from their different vantage points. One missed and one hit. One was a local team that engaged, and one was a Secret Service team that engaged. So we do know, without any doubt at all, that there were 3 different kinds of gunfire. The first volley that came from the shooter, he may have gotten off as many as 8 shots, and they all seem to be pretty similar according to the forensic stuff that I've looked at. And then you had 2 different of these counter sniper teams that have engaged, and they have a very different sound. Now, there are sophisticated things that can be done. It takes a while, but that there are technologies out there where they can take different recordings that were recorded in different locations, and if they can lock down where those people were when the recordings were taken, and then they compare them and they can triangulate. I mean, there's all kinds of really out there stuff that they can do to try to ice that down. Who am I to say that you're wrong? I don't feel that the evidence is strong enough on that right now, but I will say that there are people who got more information than I do, who are at least find the evidence that they have seen, like you have, to be compelling. But right now, as far as I can tell, and the one thing that I think is really interesting is, by the way, Mark Green was at the was at the shooting site today. And you have a lot of people walking all over that site now from Congress who are asking very hard questions. I don't know how long it's going to take, but the FBI is on it. And I look, if the FBI tells us there's one shooter, and then there are people out there with very advanced acoustic ability come back and say, well, we've done this analysis. I think they'll have to look at it. Somebody said they were shocked that there wasn't anybody watching the tower. There's a water tower with a clean shot. And apparently nobody even thought to look at it. So who knows? My sense of it is, Rick, and I respect what you have said, is right now I don't see any evidence beyond one that I found credible.
What I want to say to you, Brian, I think that this man presents, admittedly, it's about a 30-minute video, but he presents evidence of the type you were talking about.
Right.
It is quite sophisticated, and this is not done by some kid with a computer.
No.
As I said, the man is the director for a Center for Media Forensics, and in this video, it just says, and it has graphic representations, of course, of the sound, and you can hear it too. You can distinctly hear two different types of gunfire on the first 8 shots.
Well, I'll be anxious to look at that. And again, I want to be very responsible here and make sure that we're not putting out things that aren't locked down. But again, I'm not suggesting that he's wrong. I'm simply saying I haven't seen strong enough evidence as yet to think that there was more than one shooter. But there could be. I mean, I used to be very, very skeptical of all these conspiracy theories until they all started turning out to be right. You know what I'm saying? So who knows? We'll see what's happening. Carol in Nashville, you're up next on the drive. What do you say, Carol?
Hey, Brian. I was just interested in all the people calling for Joe Biden to resign. We all know that he hasn't been running the country for the last 4 years.
I know.
However, if Kamala Harris was put in charge, she could do a whole lot of crazy in 6 months.
Yeah, I keep thinking about, how I feel about that. I mean, clearly, Joe Biden is not a guy I feel who can handle a crisis. If we were to have something like the Cuban Missile Crisis or a 9/11, God forbid, would he be up to handling it? I don't think that he is. On the other hand, you got Kamala, who is, I think, a blithering idiot. I hate to be rude about it, but I don't think she's all that bright. And I think she's goofy, and I don't trust her judgment, and she doesn't have a lot of foreign relations experience. So I really don't know which would be worse. There's no real good outcome here. Let's just admit that right now the White House is being run by staff. Now that's not the way it's supposed to be, but let's be honest, that's basically what's happening. And they're making a lot of decisions with very little input, I think, from the real, true president of the United States. So, again, I don't know which is worse. The one thing about it is at least Kamala Harris, it ostensibly has her faculties about her, and I'm not sure that Joe Biden does anymore. Again, Carol, yeah, it's a bad situation, and this is very bad. I think he should step aside, but then look what you're left with. It's not good. Aubrey and Murfreesboro, you're up next on the drive. What do you say, Aubrey?
Brian, one thing I'll say before I make my statement is I don't think it matters which useful idiot is there. We have puppet masters that are driving this ship. What I called about, though, is I'm very concerned about the letter that Biden put out, because that was not on official presidential letterhead. And it makes me think somebody else wrote that letter instead of him.
Well, I do know that the statement had been prepared for him, and I'm pretty sure that his signature is on it. I've seen the document, but they use an auto pen for that a lot of the time. So that wouldn't be a big deal. Look, like most statements that come out of the White House. They're written by somebody else. But it wasn't on White House, legal stationery. I don't think that diminishes anything because it was a campaign decision mainly, not a White House decision. Let's go with Stephen in Paris. Hello, Stephen. You're on with Brian on the Drive. Hey, what do you think?
Hey, Brian. Good evening. I want to stay on Kamala and just remind everybody how much of her staff that she lost when she was trying to perform her duties as vice president. There was a lot of stuff going on behind closed doors with her power struggle.
She couldn't keep staff on board at all.
She couldn't keep staff because of the way she handles everybody. I think we're going to see, if she becomes president before this election, we're going to see a powerful dictator in our country like never before. But also, I want to remind everybody, she's the one that made the deal with Biden up front when she became the vice president to be in control of this border crisis. Well, they don't call it a crisis. So it's basically, she's the one that's been micromanaging all of the illegals coming into our country. She's the one that put the team together to micromanage where to send them all to try to use them for the votes. So this is all her inner workings of
she didn't really. Your point is she didn't really want to solve the problem on the border. She just, but she has been involved in other things. I think you're probably right.
Yes, she's been setting up this stage to take over to where it don't matter who votes and who don't vote, they're going to take over. She's been in one of the highest seats to control all that. So
I agree with you on that.
I want to remind everybody on that. Yep.
All right, Stephen, thank you very much. Let me get some more calls in here real quick. Duncan calling in from Linden. What do you think there, Duncan?
Hey, well, I got a question. It was during the Lester Holt interview, I believe, where he asked Biden specifically, what would it take for you to back out of the race? And Biden answered, a doctor telling me I have some sort of condition. If I recall that correctly.
That's correct. That's paraphrasing, but yeah, I think you're basically right.
Yeah. So what has he been told that he has to make him drop out of the race?
I don't know. I mean, I think that from what I'm reading, and again, who knows, because it was so tightly held, but it seems to me that he just came to the conclusion that, it finally dawned on him that he couldn't win. And he asked for polling data to look at, well, how would Kamala do? And it came out that, why she was not going to lead Trump right now in the polling data, she was closer to doing it than he would be, and that they thought that the Democrats thought there was a pathway to victory with Kamala that they did not see with Biden. So I think he just finally rolled over and decided, I've got to go ahead and let it go. And again, I'm concerned we haven't seen him. I haven't laid eyes on him since he went to underground in Rehoboth. And I'd like to know who really is in charge of our country right now. Who is the leader of the free world? Because the last time I laid eyes on Biden with videotape out of Delaware, he didn't look so good. Looked pretty bad, actually, pretty weak and frail. 51 minutes now past the hour. Good calls. Thank you a lot, folks. Appreciate it. Time for a commercial break. Buying a diamond, if you're not properly educated, is hard. If you're not careful, you can overpay big time. Small variations in a diamond's quality specs can make a huge difference in its values, and that's why I recommend you check out Genesis Diamonds. Genesis Diamonds education is second to none. They will teach you the secrets of the industry. They will explain how diamonds are priced on the world market, and their non-commission experts will make you a savvy buyer, even if you ultimately decide to shop somewhere else. They'll give you the education. They're pretty sure that when they educate you, though, you're going to know who you want to do business with. These days, this is so important, especially if you're considering buying a lab-grown diamond. Let Genesis reveal the truth behind the recent trend and show you all the info about how lab-grown diamonds are being overpriced in so many places. Be careful. Bottom line, Genesis is your source for the best information as well as the best value for both natural and lab-grown diamonds. If you're buying a diamond for the first time or upgrading to a large, rare, investment-grade diamond, Genesis will make sure you don't make a mistake. That's where the focus is always on quality, transparency, education, quality, and value. That's what they're all about. Don't buy a diamond until you learn about the ins and outs from Genesis. 2 locations, Green Hills and Cool Springs.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionality, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.
You know, there are no pills or spinal creams that can magically open up your spinal disc and take the pressure off your nerves. It doesn't happen. You have a couple of choices. One of them is surgery. The other is non-invasive spinal decompression. Now, that's what I chose, the non-surgical spinal decompression at the Wellness Institute of Nashville. They have state-of-the-art facilities and the latest high-tech equipment offering non-surgical procedures. Getting better is so important, so Dr. Kevin Mitchell and Dr. Ashley are offering half off the spinal decompression treatment and half off the KT knee machine, which is sort of like spinal decompression, but if it's aimed at helping you with your knee. Listen, if you are a new patient, all you need is $23. And for that $23, you will get an exam, you'll get a consultation, and you'll get your first treatment. And then after that, the non-surgical spinal decompression treatments are half off. What a deal. I'm Brian Wilson, and I put my stamp of approval on the Wellness Institute of Nashville. So call them today, 615-246-5009. Learn more at painisbad.com.
Good afternoon. It's 5 p.m. I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. We've got, mostly cloudy conditions. There are showers in the area, and we are back up to 82 degrees now. A full forecast and the latest traffic report are coming up. The Trump campaign is narrowing attacks on Vice President Kamala Harris. Today, J.D. Vance on the campaign trail for the first time solo since President Biden stepped aside and endorsed Harris. ABC's Perry Russum is in Washington.
Republican candidate for Vice President J.D. Vance in his hometown of Middletown, Ohio, attacking the Democratic Party.
The idea of selecting the Democrat Party's nominee because George Soros and Barack Obama and a couple of elite Democrats got in a smoke-filled room and decided to throw Joe Biden overboard. That is not how it works.
Vance apparently going off script.
I was told I was going to get to debate Kamala Harris, and now President Trump's going to get to debate her.
Getting a laugh from the crowd.
I'm kind of pissed off about that, if I'm being honest with you.
Well, today, Republican lawmakers visiting the site in Butler, Pennsylvania, where a gunman tried to assassinate former President Trump. House Homeland Security Chair Mark Green, a Republican from right here in Tennessee, calling for the resignation of Secret Service Director Kimberly Cheetle.
If you're an elite unit, which the Secret Service should be, that's what happens when you screw up. You're fired. And she needs to go.
Delta Airlines continuing to deal with major impacts from Friday's IT outage linked to cybersecurity software on some Windows machines. Delta has canceled almost 1,000 flights today. ABC's Alex Stone has more information.
In a new update, Delta Airlines says its teams are working around the clock to get everything back up and running again, and that half of Delta's computers are Windows-based, and each one has to be repaired individually and brought back online. Delta says it's extending a travel waiver, allowing customers to make a one-time change to plans. Passengers impacted can get a refund, and Delta says it will cover eligible food and meal expenses of those who have been impacted.
Here in Middle Tennessee, Fox 17 reports that police have identified the bicyclist killed in a crash in Murfreesboro last week. That man has been identified as 30-year-old Thomas Hunter Conley of Murfreesboro. Authorities say Conley was riding his bicycle with one hand on the handlebars and carrying something in the other. He fell off the bike and was struck by a Buick Enclave driven by 41-year-old Isaiah Isom of Murfreesboro. He initially fled the scene, but he has since been apprehended and taken into custody. That is the latest news. Traffic and weather are next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionality, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. 7 minutes past the hour of 5 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. I hope that you're settling in for a good drive home. We're going to try to get you home safely, and on the way, give you the latest information of what's been going on in this wacky world of news we've got going on. Honestly, it's been an interesting news cycle. About the last 8-10 days have been just unbelievable. And it continues today. So much to talk about. I just want to give you a quick heads up. We have been talking about how we have not heard from Joe Biden since he went to ground in Rehoboth after saying he has COVID and making the big decision over the weekend that he was not going to continue his campaign to be reelected, and then endorsing Kamala Harris. Well, apparently Kamala Harris is stepping right into the Biden campaign operation. All the people are already in place. She's just maybe make some minor changes in staffing, but she has confidence in that team. She has just made an appearance before them, and Joe Biden called in on the telephone. So he's still breathing. It sounded like him anyway. So we assume he's all right, and there's that. But that's the first that we have heard from Joe Biden, publicly since he made the announcement. He says he's going to go on the campaign trail with Kamala. And if I'm Kamala, I go, okay, I thought we were going to get past all that, but I guess not. So there's that. He is going to go out there and endorse her. And it looks like most of the key Democrats have decided to go ahead and wrap their arms around Kamala Harris, for better or for worse. She's their nominee. And I'm not sure it's going to work out for them. Pretty sure it's not. We'll get into that again a little bit later. There have been a couple of things happening with regard to the follow-up to the investigation into the attempted assassination of Donald Trump. Big hearings on Capitol Hill. By the way, this was a hearing with Kimberly Cheetle, the director of the FBI. Tomorrow, I guess in Homeland Security Committee, which is run by Mark Green, our Mark Green of Tennessee, we will have both the Secret Service director and the FBI director, Christopher Wray, answering questions. I'm very interested to hear what Wray has to say, because apparently Wray, who's been out there saying for some time now that all of the lights are blinking red on a terrorist attack, and wanting to know, make sure everybody understands that as they do their threat assessments in government, they need to be aware that the current feeling is that, we're in a bad way right now, given the fact that world leaders are making a lot of noises. You have a lot of people that are still upset with the Biden administration over what's happening with regard to the Middle East and Israel and Gaza and all of that. And then on top of that, we have an open border, and we don't know who the people are that've come into this country who want to do maybe our leaders harm. So he's going to be interesting to hear tomorrow. Today, it was Cheetle in front of the House Oversight Committee. James Comer is the chairman.
Service has a zero-fail mission, but it failed on July 13th and in the days leading up to the rally. The Secret Service has thousands of employees and a significant budget, but it has now become the face of incompetence. The committee has a long track record of providing oversight of the Secret Service. Our predecessors, both Jason Chaffetz and Elijah Cummings, among others, worked together to issue warnings and recommendations to address obvious shortcomings in the agency's makeup and operations. Unfortunately, those warnings and recommendations have gone unheeded. A former president and current candidate for president was shot in the head by a sniper within 500 feet of the podium. This is unacceptable, and we are concerned the Secret Service lacks the proper management to keep protectees safe from bad actors. Americans demand answers, but they have not been getting them from the Secret Service. We are instead learning about new facts about the events surrounding the attempted assassination every day from whistleblowers and leaks. Americans demand accountability, but no one is yet to be fired for this historic failure. Today's witness, Secret Service Director Kimberly Cheetle, is here under subpoena to answer questions about how the agency failed President Trump and the victims who attended the rally in Butler, Pennsylvania. It is my firm belief, Director Cheetle, that you should resign.
Well, Cheetle's not going to resign. I just want to say that Democrats, by and large, were among those who said, you know what, we need to have her resignation. This was a rare bipartisan hearing where the Democrats and the Republicans were largely on the same page. But again, Democrats just can't help themselves. Here is Jamie Raskin.
The shooter in Butler used his father's AR-15. We have to find the courage and resolve to pass a ban on the AR-15 and other assault weapons.
Yeah, you knew that was coming, right? Cheetle, for her part, admitted that the buck stopped with her, but she didn't really have a lot of answers for members of Congress.
As a director of the United States Secret Service, I take full responsibility for any security lapse of our agency. We are fully cooperating with ongoing investigations. We must learn what happened, and I will move heaven and earth to ensure that an incident like July 13th does not happen again. Let me state unequivocally, nothing I have said should be interpreted to place blame for this failure on our federal, state, or local law enforcement partners who supported the Secret Service in Butler. We could not do our job without them.
Jim Jordan is the chairman of the Oversight Committee. He made an appearance in this other hearing to get a few questions in.
So what I can tell you is that for the event in Butler, there were no requests that were denied. As far as requests...
Well, maybe they got tired of asking. Maybe you turned them down so darn much, they said, not worth asking. How many times did you turn them down ahead of that?
I think that it is important to distinguish between what some people may view as a denial of an asset or a request.
Well, is Mr. Guglielmi your spokesperson? He said he acknowledged the Secret Service had turned down some requests. I'm asking how many?
A denial of a request does not equal a vulnerability.
Well, tell me what it is.
There are a number of ways that threats and risks can be mitigated with a number of different assets, whether that be through personnel, whether that be through technology, or other resources.
Well, tell the committee which it was. They asked for additional help in some form or another. You told them no. How many times did you tell them no, and what did you tell them no to?
Again, I cannot speak to specific incidents, but I can tell you in general terms, the Secret Service is judicious with their resources based on...
What does some requests mean? How many times? Some indicate requests is plural. So more than once they asked for additional help and you turned them down. What did they ask for and how many times did you turn them down? Pretty basic questions.
So again, without having all of the details in front of me, sir, what I can tell you is that there are times...
You didn't get briefed on how many times you turned down the Trump detail when they asked for additional help?
I'm sorry.
You didn't get briefed on that before you came to this hearing knowing you were going to get asked that question?
What I can tell you is that in generic terms, when details make a request, there are times that there are alternate ways to cover off on that threat or that risk.
But that's not what he said. He said they were denied certain requests, some requests. This is your spokesperson, not me talking. This is the Secret Service talking. And what a change from absolutely false, unequivocally false to, oh, by the way, there were some times where we didn't give them what they wanted. That's a huge change in 5 days. And the fact that you can't answer how many times you did that, that's pretty darn frustrating, not just for me, but for the country.
See, he can afford to be that harsh because the members of Congress have been hearing from whistleblowers. Some of them were on the Trump Secret Service detail. And they've been telling the members, we have asked for additional resources, and we were told no. So at first they denied, and then over the weekend, it seems that his spokesman, the spokesman at the Secret Service, said, well, yes, there have been some requests that were denied. Showing up also at this hearing was Mike Turner, the House chairman of the House Intelligence Committee. And he was really focused on the threats that have been aimed at presidential candidates and the concern they have because of the Iranian threat.
Is an Iranian assassin more capable than a 20-year-old?
Sir, I think we've acknowledged that there was gaps and a failure that day.
When I raised this issue with Director Wray, he was incensed. He was shocked that the threat assessment of Iran did not seem to be, as we and I discussed, baked in to your security footprint and your threat assessment. And he went on to say that the generalized threat that he has told the whole country that we are under from a potential terrorist threat, he has said we're under the highest threat level since 9/11, that the lights are flashing red. And he has specifically indicated that people have crossed the southern border as a result of the Biden administration's policy, and that there are in our country today terrorists and individuals who are affiliated with terrorist groups and organizations. That would be a heightened threat environment, Director Cheetle, would it not?
Yes.
In his public statements, he has said he is making these statements because he wants people to take them into consideration in threat assessments. Now, that would be a threat not just to Donald Trump, but it would also be a threat to the crowd there, wouldn't it?
Yes.
Are ISIS terrorists and al-Qaeda terrorists and international groups and terrorists more capable than a 20-year-old in pulling off their mass shooting or an assassination of Donald Trump?
Sir, again, there was clearly a breakdown and a failure that day.
Have you read the intelligence of the terrorists that are currently in the United States that Director Wray speaks, and those individuals that are here that are affiliated with terrorist groups and organizations that are in the process, as Director Wray said, of representing a significant threat of a terrorist attack occurring in the United States?
I have read reports that apply specifically to the Secret Service's mission.
Because Donald Trump is alive, and thank God he is, you look incompetent. If Donald Trump had been killed, you would have looked culpable. There is no aspect of this that indicates that there has been any protection to Donald Trump. The threat was identified before he took the stage. President Biden needs to fire you because his life, Donald Trump's life, and all the other people which you protect are at risk because you have no concept of the aspect that the security footprint needs to be correlated to the threat.
I mean, these are very high-ranking members of Congress who are doing the butt chewing here, and they are coming on pretty strong. Even amazingly, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez roughed up the Secret Service director.
The idea that a report will be finalized in 60 days, let alone prior to any actionable decisions that would be made, is simply not acceptable. It has been 10 days since an assassination attempt on a former president of the United States, regardless of party. There need to be answers. Again, this party, this committee, this is not a moment of theater. We have to make policy decisions, and we have to make them now. We do. And that may require legislation. That may require policy that we must pass in the immediate term. And without that, we are flying blind. So the lack of answers and the lack of report is just simply not something that we can accept here.
Let me wrap up this report with a comment from Congressman Tim Burchett of Tennessee, who sits on the committee.
You can't seem to answer a single question about an ongoing investigation, ma'am, and you don't know when the information will be released publicly. Are you waiting for the administration to sign off?
No, I am waiting for the results of the investigation, at which time...
Okay, let me ask you one more question. You found explosives in the shooter's possession. Is that correct?
The FBI found explosives.
Do we know who directed this young man how to make those explosives?
I believe that the FBI is still looking into that on their investigation.
Ms. Cheetle, you said that the buck stops with me, and I agree. I don't think you should resign. I think you should have been fired. Ma'am, you are a DEI horror story. I've told my daughter multiple times, my wife and my daughter, we talk to her all the time about how she's going to succeed in life. She'll succeed in life by achieving. Ma'am, you have not achieved today. You've let the American public down. If it was up to me, you'd be gone.
So tomorrow, it'll be Mark Green, the chairman of the Homeland Security Committee, with Director Christopher Wray, and again, the Secret Service Director, Kimberly Cheetle. That'll all be happening tomorrow. And then there's a third hearing on Wednesday in Judiciary where the FBI director alone will testify. So we're going to get a lot of new information and a day-by-day update. But I got to tell you, members of Congress today were incredibly frustrated that here you have the the director of the Secret Service, who is, supposed to be conducting some kind of internal review in addition to all the other investigations, and she didn't even have a basic timeline. No basic timeline at all. We do have some of that from Senator Ron Johnson, who's done a pretty good job with his staff of putting together better information than the director of the Secret Service has. And I'll share some of that with you in just a moment. Right now, 22 minutes past the hour of 5 o'clock.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
Kamala Harris receiving a high-profile endorsement for the Democratic nomination for president. The families of American hostages held by Hamas met with the U.S. National Security Advisor today, and Tennessee's delegation to the DNC throw their support behind the vice president. We'll have those stories at 5:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
It's 26 minutes now past the hour. The director of the Secret Service does not have a timeline. If she has it, she was unwilling to share it. It's unbelievable that she comes before a meeting of Congress and is supposed to be providing answers, and she doesn't have any. Senator Ron Johnson of Wisconsin, a Republican, has come up with his own timeline. It's pretty good. At 5:10 p.m., 1 hour and I guess about 1 minute before the shots rang out, the shooter is observed by one of the snipers at the AGR building, that tan metal building, which eventually became the place from which he fired his shots. At 5:14, an AGR sniper takes a picture of Crooks. At 5:28, the sniper takes a picture of a bicycle and what appears to be two bags located near the AGR building. It's unclear what happened to the bicycle and bags after, but this apparently was a bicycle that belonged to him, the shooter. 5:32, AGR sniper spots Crooks looking at his phone and using a rangefinder. 5:32. 5:38, AGR sniper sends a message to the sniper group about this individual, the shooter. 5:40, AGR sniper is told to call into ground to command regarding the shooter. 5:41, the sniper called into command, just provided a description of Crooks and the rangefinder that he saw, as well as providing information that Crooks was lurking around the AGR building. 5:49, photos of Crooks are sent to the Butler ESU command. That's the township command. 5:55, the township command confirms receipt of the photos and states they have been relayed. 5:59, Butler ESU asks for directions about where Crook is traveling, and they seem to have lost him at 5:59. At 6:05, AGR sniper later communicated that Crooks is 1 minute later, that Crooks is seen moving northeast in the direction of a gas station, and that Crooks has a backpack. 6:06 to 6:12, the AGR sniper goes to the ground floor to meet local law enforcement patrol to alert them to the presence of the shooter. And then about 6:11, shots began ringing out. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Here's Ron Johnson making one other point. I'm not sure what his point is here, but I think it's worth mentioning that the first people to get to that roof after the shooter had been killed was the local sniper team. And, I'll just let him tell the story.
Somebody told them to send the pictures they had taken to an ATF agent, which I think is very strange. And we called up that ATF agent. That individual said that he was with ATF, and now he's gone dark. We've also reached out to the Secret Service agents in charge on the ground. All we're getting there is a runaround. So we are getting information from local law enforcement, and we appreciate that. I wish I could rely and have faith in the FBI and the Secret Service to do a truthful accounting of this, but that's not been my experience with the Russian collusion hoax, and for years dealing with federal law enforcement. We need completely separate and independent investigations, and it has to start now.
It is a good thing that Congress is conducting these independent investigations, because many Americans don't trust the FBI anymore. And after the failures here, I don't think there are many Americans who have a tremendous amount of confidence in the Secret Service. I think there's some brave people there, but boy, something went horribly, horribly wrong with the security at this event. It is 30 minutes now past the hour of 5 o'clock.
Good afternoon. It is 5:30 p.m. I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. We've got a mix of clouds and sun, 82 degrees, another traffic report, and a weather forecast are upcoming. Support for Vice President Kamala Harris to top the Democratic presidential ticket It's coming in from across the country in the hours after President Biden decided to end his reelection bid. Karen Travers, she has the latest on a key endorsement.
Former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi says she is endorsing Vice President Harris for president. She says the Democratic Party must now unify and charge forward to defeat Donald Trump. Pelosi in her statement says the country has been, quote, truly blessed by the wisdom and leadership of President Biden, and says he has been not only on the right side of history, but the right side of the future. Pelosi was one of several top Democrats on Capitol Hill who made the case to the president that if he stayed at the top of the ticket, he could hurt Democrats' chances in November. Karen Travers, ABC News, the White House.
Turning now to the crisis in the Middle East, the families of American hostages held by Hamas met with National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan at the White House today, ahead of Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's address to Congress this week. They spoke outside the White House and demanded that Netanyahu accept the deal to free the hostages. Jonathan Dakel-Chen, he's the father of American hostage Sagi Dakel-Chen.
There are no more major security issues to be solved on Israel's part. It is time to bring this to an end, to end the suffering of millions on the Palestinian side, the hostage families.
Back in the volunteer state, Tennessee's delegation to the Democratic National Convention next month will be united in their support to nominate Vice President Kamala Harris as the next president. Several delegates met on Sunday and decided to endorse Harris after President Biden's decision not to seek re-election. Tennessee has 77 delegates to the DNC that's set to begin August 19th in Chicago. They were previously committed to Biden after the president won the Tennessee Democratic primary back in March. That is the latest news. Traffic and weather, they are on the way. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
So are your retirement assets structured to minimize taxes? Many people don't think about taxes when they retire, but it can be a big hit on what you've got coming in. Hard to believe, but many hardworking Americans just like you could be overpaying on taxes in retirement. You could be taxed on your IRA, your 401k, any other tax-deferred retirement accounts. Beacon Capital Management is here to give you peace of mind. With the threat of massive tax increases just around the corner, your nest egg could be in trouble unless you take advantage of defensive tax-saving strategies now. Defend your hard-earned retirement savings by scheduling a free retirement tax reduction analysis today. No cost, no pressure, no obligation. If you've saved more than $250,000 for retirement, don't wait any longer to schedule your free retirement tax reduction analysis from the folks at Beacon. Just call this number to get started, 615-488-9303, or find out more by going to their website, askbeaconnow.com.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
"38 minutes now past the hour of 5 o'clock. Brian Wilson in the chair. I'm just looking at, everybody wants to know exactly, what the difference will be now that Biden has stepped away. And it appears, by all the way it looks today, it is almost certain that Kamala Harris will be the nominee. I guess it still is an open convention process, but she has racked up most of the Democrat nomination, or endorsements is the word I'm looking for. Most of the Democrat endorsements have gone her way. Ironically, the only one person who has not come forward is Obama. He has not endorsed, but everybody else has. I mean, Biden has, Nancy Pelosi has, Hakeem Jeffries has, Schumer has. I think just about every Democrat in the House has. Certainly the vast majority of them. It seems like all Democrat senators have gotten on the Kamala train, saying, yes, we will support her. And it's the easiest solution, quite frankly, because she can just step right into the campaign operation that she was already a part of as the standard bearer. We may not get it officially worked out until then, but questions about, well, how will it go and what will the numbers do now that Joe Biden is out of the way and Kamala Harris is likely to be the nominee? Got some answers for you on that. There is a new Quinnipiac poll that has just come out. Trump 45, Harris 41, Trump plus 4. And that's the 5-way. The two-way is a little tighter. It's Trump plus 2. The Harris poll, general election number, Trump 53, Harris 47, Trump plus 6. And then the Atlanta Journal-Constitution did a Georgia poll, Trump versus Harris, and they have Trump leading in Georgia, a battleground state, by 5. So what I'm seeing here is largely not much change in the numbers. You just substitute Harris for Biden, and pretty much so far, the numbers that I'm seeing suggest that it's not going to change things all that much. So there is that. That's just coming in. Just a while ago, Kamala Harris had a meeting with her campaign staff, which was on camera, came in to sort of rally the troops. Here she is.
Today, just right after Joe made his announcement, it was important for me to continue with his role of leadership in this office, of like him, who has said for many, many, many months, and I say it today, thank you all so very much for what you are doing and what you will continue to do.
Here's more.
Over the next 106 days, we are going to take our case to the American people, and we are going to win.
Yeah, okay. Well, let's see. How do I feel about that? I don't think that things are changing dramatically. Well, first of all, you still got this.
Joe Biden's legacy of accomplishment over the past 3 years is unmatched in modern history. In one term, he has already, yes, you may clap.
There it is. That's the cackle. This is irritating. I mean, and it really irritates people. She has a grating personality. I mean, can you imagine 4 years of that every day?
Make it stop, please.
Get that recording. People say that I shouldn't do that because they literally have the urge to turn the radio off or turn the channel. What I'm telling you is that I think the reaction that you have to that is the same reaction that most Americans have. And I, honestly, you'd say, well, that doesn't matter. It's not about that. It is about things like that. Ultimately, a lot of people come down and cast their votes on whether or not they find the candidate likable or whether they feel like that, that they like their personality. They think the old saying is this somebody you'd like to sit down and drink a beer with? I can't imagine. I could absolutely imagine sitting down, except Donald Trump doesn't drink, but I could sit down and drink a beer with Donald Trump if he drank. But Kamala, I would have no interest in that. It would bore me to death. And the first time she cackled, I'd want to get up and leave. She's known for, her word salad.
So I think it's very important,
see if you can follow
as you
this.
have heard from so many incredible leaders, for us at every moment in time, and certainly this one, to see the moment in time in which we exist and are present.
Okay.
And to be able to contextualize it, to understand where we exist in the history and in the moment as it relates not only to the past but the future.
It's just word salad. And I'll tell you, she has a thing about frogs. Here is Kamala Harris with deep thoughts about frogs.
So there are 2 pots of water and 2 frogs. And in one pot, you put the frog in the water and you slowly turn up the heat. Mm-hmm. And that frog's just hanging out as the heat just slowly gets hotter.
Yeah.
To the point that water starts to boil and that frog perishes. In the other pot of water, you first turn up the heat real high. The water's boiling, you drop that frog in, he'll jump right out. The lesson there, as far as I'm concerned, don't be that first frog.
Don't be the first frog. Ribbit. What does that mean? And sometimes she gets like overly simplistic, as if she herself only has a rudimentary understanding of world events, like the war between Russia and Ukraine.
So Ukraine is a country in Europe. It exists next to another country called Russia. Russia is a bigger country. Russia is a powerful country. Russia decided to invade a smaller country called Ukraine. So basically that's wrong.
World events with Kamala Harris. Basically, that's wrong.
It's so simple, Brian.
Yeah, I know. I mean, why am I making it more complicated than it needs to be? Technically, she will be, it looks like, the nominee of the Democrat Party. Although, let me see if I can find this. Jen Psaki, here it is. Jen Psaki over on MSNBC says, there is still a way that Democrats could choose someone else at the convention.
Now, there are questions here because there's nearly 4,000 delegates at the DNC. They were not, even if President Biden had stayed in, they were not legally bound. That's not how the Democratic nomination process works. There's a conscience clause that hasn't been tested many times. But as I understand it, they could have decided. Now, they were all Biden delegates, so many of them probably wouldn't have done this. But they could have decided to vote for somebody else. Somebody else needed 300 delegates to be kind of viable in consideration. So I think the question now is, what does the process look like? They've definitely been discussing what this looks like, but just because the president endorses, it doesn't mean all 4,000 come her way, so there'll have to be a lot of work behind the scenes. There are deadlines for state ballots, including Virginia, Washington State, that are at the very front end of the Democratic convention. So even if others wanted to throw themselves in the ring, this would all be happening in all likelihood remotely. There's not going to be a battle on the floor like a West Wing episode.
Yeah, well, that's sort of what I wanted. Now we don't even have to, pop the popcorn. I don't like her positions. I don't like her position on fracking.
There's no question I'm in favor of banning fracking. So, yeah, and starting with what we can do on day one around public lands, right? And then there has to be legislation. But yes, and this is something I've taken on in California. I have a history of working on this issue. And to your point, we have to just acknowledge that the residual impact of fracking is enormous in terms of the impact on the health and safety of communities.
You know what? When I was growing up in West Texas as a kid, they were fracking out in the oil fields of the Permian Basin. I don't understand this concern about fracking, but most importantly, what that says is that you can count on higher gas prices is what that means. If you're going to go after the modern technology that is used by the oil and gas industry and say you want to ban fracking, well, then you will reduce the amount of oil and gas that can be collected for our future. She is absolutely, even though she's the border czar, she has the wrong position on the illegal immigrants who have come into this country.
I am in favor of saying that we're not going to treat people who are undocumented across the border as criminals. That's correct. That is correct.
No, they're not criminals, despite the fact that they violated the law to come into this country illegally. And let's be clear about it. She's all in on amnesty for people who come to this country illegally.
There is no question that our immigration system is broken. And so much so that we, as the first bill that we offered after our inauguration, was to fix the immigration system, which included what we must do to create a pathway for citizenship and to put the resources that are needed into the border. But sadly, people on the other side of the aisle have been playing politics with this issue. The solutions are at hand. And, gone are the days, sadly, where a President Bush or John McCain understood that we should have a bipartisan approach to fixing this problem, which is a long-standing problem. But what are those solutions? The solution includes putting resources at the border to do what we can to process people effectively and putting in place laws that actually allow for a meaningful pathway to citizenship.
That's right. We'll make them all citizens, which is basically to say we'll make them all Democrat voters. She's all in on that. I don't know how in the world, most Americans out there are not at all happy with Kamala Harris being the border czar because they don't think she's done anything to solve the problem. If she's worked around the issue, it's been to try to find ways to bring more immigrants into this country, not to trim the number of immigrants who are coming to this country. And that seems to be what her goal has been. Certainly, she didn't solve the problem of illegal immigration, which goes on even today. I don't think that it's going to change very much. I think that Trump and J.D. Vance, who's making a good impression, I think, so far, are not going to have much trouble if Kamala is the nominee, as it appears she will be. Let's call it 51 minutes now, past the hour of 5 o'clock. Hey, let me tell you about the folks over at Restoration Wellness and Med Spa. They are, I'm telling you, getting it done for me. I am losing weight. Did I tell you I'm down now 25 pounds? That's right. And this is no joke. Every time I get on the scale, I look forward to it because I see the number going down. Restoration Wellness is a leader in the weight loss management in Wilson County, and they can help you like they have helped me and others. Call the Restoration Wellness team today at 615-470-8124 or visit them at their website, restorationwellnessmedspa.com, to book a consultation today. Now, my friend Carly and Jamie will take good care of you like you're one of their own. Be a part of the 1,000 patients who have already seen life-changing results from the weight loss management program. Weight loss can increase your energy levels, improve your quality of sleep, and enhance your overall health. And these are customizable treatments, not one-size-fits-all solutions. They will look at your unique needs, your lifestyle, and your goals. So if your goal is to lose body fat or improve your overall health, why don't you check out their website, restorationwellnessmedspa.com.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
You know, when you have a lot of rain and then you have a lot of really hot temperatures where things get very dry, that really is the right environment, the back and forth, either when there's a lot of rain and there's a lot of moisture in the soil or when it's very dry, to cause your foundation to start to fail. And if you've got the signs, you know, cracking bricks, walls that bow, doors or windows that stick, drywall that separates, stair-step cracks and masonry mortar joints, well, you need to call the folks I would call United Structural Systems and get them out there to take a look at your foundation issues. They can get it going and get it solved. That's what they do. That's their big deal. And as if it comes to concrete, that is sloping or sinking. Maybe you have some porch steps that are tilted, or a sidewalk or patio that has shifted, or something around your pool that has become sort of a trip hazard. Why don't you call them to come look at that? They have this USS Polylift system. It's less expensive than concrete replacement. You can do this very quickly. No damage to grass or to lawn or to landscaping. The work can be done in just a few hours. Walk on it immediately. Drive on it in 30 minutes. It is really the way to go. Don't replace it. Raise it. Here, for any of these problems, just give them a call. 615-488-7855. Learn more at ussTN.com.
Good evening. It is now 6:01 p.m. I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. Mostly cloudy, and we're at 80 degrees. The temperature with the cloud cover has really been fluctuating here this afternoon. We'll get you the latest weather forecast and the latest traffic report in just a couple of moments here. Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro repeatedly declining to say whether he would accept an offer to be Kamala Harris's running mate, telling reporters at an event in Pittsburgh today that he would not engage in hypothetical. Here is Governor Shapiro at that event.
I'm not going to engage in hypotheticals. This is a deeply personal decision that the vice president will make. She will make it on her own timetable and her own timeline. She needs to choose someone that she's prepared to govern with, campaign with, and someone that she feels most comfortable with. And that decision should be made free of any sort of political pressure.
Now over on the GOP side of things in Election 24, Senator J.D. Vance, he was holding his first solo campaign event today since being picked to be former President Trump's running mate. Dave Packer with ABC News reports.
J.D. Vance back in his suburban Cincinnati, Ohio hometown, telling his old neighbors that his life there may have been tough, but it was full of love and more.
It was surrounded by something that if we don't fight is not going to be around for the next generation of kids, and that's opportunity. Middletown had opportunity, and we got to make sure it's there for the next generation.
In addition to Ohio, the Trump campaign hoping Vance's blue-collar roots will play well in other Rust Belt states, including Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania.
Now on Capitol Hill today, Secret Service Director Kimberly Cheetle told lawmakers today her agency failed in its mission to protect former President Trump. Cheetle faced a contentious hearing with lawmakers from both major political parties demanding that she resign over security failures that allowed a gunman to scale a roof and open fire at a campaign rally. Among those pressing Cheetle was Representative Lauren Boebert from from Colorado, from the state of Colorado, a Republican representative.
You said you spoke with President Trump after the assassination attempt, and I want to know, did you apologize to him directly for nearly having President Trump killed?
Yes, I did.
Back here in Middle Tennessee, arrests have been made after the theft of almost $500,000 worth of property from a Middle Tennessee storage facility.
Channel 4 says police looked at evidence pictures from a unit registered to a Sheila Lane, which they say showed items a man reported missing from his unit at Storage Rentals of America in Goodlettsville. Police went to Lane's best friend's house where two people, Desiree Jernigan and Joshua Brewington, consented to a search of the property. That search search, police say, turned up $475,000 worth of furniture, clothing, glassware, and books taken in May. Police believe Lane, Jernigan, and Brewington are linked to storage unit thefts dating back to March. Ken Weaver, WTN News.
That is the latest news. Traffic and weather there next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
Eight minutes now past the hour at 6 o'clock. Good evening, everyone. I'm Brian Wilson, and for the fourth hour of this Monday show, it's been a very pleasant day. Only in the low 80s today, 82 right now in Nashville, and I'm telling you, feels nice outside. I almost need to go outside to get warm because I got the air conditioner too cold.
Oh, that's a shame.
Yeah, I know it's
terrible.
That quality problem, isn't it? For sure. Listen, so much going on. And as you know, over the weekend, Joe Biden stepped aside, and Kamala Harris seems to be getting the most support right now. Although, apparently when it gets to convention time, it can be an open season. It could be an open convention. And since they are no longer bound to support Joe Biden. They don't have to support Kamala Harris, so something could still happen, although it does appear, at least initially, that Kamala Harris is getting most of the big name endorsements and seems to be securing her position as the standard bearer of her party, but we won't know for a while for sure. Interesting. Let me read a couple of stories that are come across today that tell a little bit about how Joe Biden finally was kind of pushed out, and I think he was pushed out against his own will. From the New York Post, top Dems threatened to forcibly remove Biden from office unless he dropped out. Set him up to fail at the Trump debate, according to sources. Operatives at the very highest levels of the Democrat Party threatened Joe Biden with forcibly removing him from office unless he stepped down, sources told the New York Post. The well-orchestrated palace coup to stop the faltering president seeking re-election has been in place for weeks, but stubborn Biden fought against it every step of the way, a source close to the Biden family told the Post on Monday. The insider also made it clear the anger, paranoia, and frustration Biden displayed as the party elite circled around him and piled on the pressure. Part of the elaborate strategy to remove Biden from the race, as he announced in a shock letter posted on X on Sunday, was allowing him to debate Republican candidate Donald Trump last month on live TV in Atlanta. During the car crash 90-minute debate, Biden appeared, of course, confused, slack-jawed, and at one point he froze up, with his shocking performance turning the tide against him. Well, I'm telling you, that's something. The debate was set up to convince Democrats that he couldn't run for president, the source said on Monday. As calls to bow out mounted, Biden insisted he would continue, but party bigwigs threatened to invoke the 25th Amendment to the United States Constitution, which, by the way, would have to have come from the vice president and by members of the cabinet. And as far as I know, the vice president, if she was having those conversations, it has never leaked out. I have some real concerns about party bigwigs saying we were going to force the 25th Amendment on. That has to originate with the vice president and the cabinet. And I have not seen any indication that that was at play. But we'll take their word for it for a moment. Although Biden immediately endorsed Vice President Kamala Harris as the Democrat candidate for president, the source said the Democrat delegates will be strongly encouraged to instead back Arizona Senator and former astronaut Mark Kelly for president at the Democrat National Convention in Chicago in August. Some holdouts have yet to endorse Harris as Biden's successor. Most notable among them is former President Barack Obama. He said in his statement, "We will be navigating uncharted waters in the days ahead." And yes, before you say it, it's not going to be Michelle. Okay? I'm sorry. It's just, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Okay? I'll be the first to admit it, but you need to hear me on this. I don't think it's going to be Michelle. Hunter Biden felt that his dad was being set up, and he was very concerned about his father. That's why he started showing up at these official meetings at the White House. He didn't feel like the staff could be trusted. Biden's own staff did not have warning about the bombshell decision to pull out of the race, which was known since last Tuesday, the source said. Many were shocked by the letter posted to Biden's X account itself, as it was typed on his private letterhead rather than White House notepaper, and it was signed electronically. That doesn't bother me as much as it does some people, because this was coming not from the White House. It was coming from the campaign. This was a campaign-level decision, not a White House-level decision. So it doesn't bother me, but some people really seem to be really concerned about that. Democrat Party insiders have also known for at least 2 years how Biden was in decline. When I saw him a couple of years ago, it was frightening. He was just repeating slogans and had no idea who I was. NBC has a nice TikTok on how things happened. Surrounded by a handful of trusted advisors and First Lady Jill Biden at his vacation home on the Delaware coast Saturday evening, President Joe Biden reflected on a political career that spanned more than a half a century and began to conclude that it would reach its end earlier than planned, according to people familiar with his decision. Isolated, frustrated, and angry, he felt betrayed by allies who turned on him in his hour of need. He was, quote, really pissed off, said a person in touch with the Biden inner circle. Mad as hell he was and still is. Biden came grudgingly to accept that he could not sustain his campaign with poll numbers slipping, donors fleeing, and party luminaries pushing him to exit. He may have been slower than other Democrat insiders wanted insiders to make that calculation, but he fully understood it by Saturday night. So apparently he talked over with a very tight circle. And then decided, well, we'll sleep on it and talk again tomorrow. In separate phone calls Sunday, Biden told his Vice President Kamala Harris, his White House Chief of Staff Jeff Zients, and his campaign chair Jen O'Malley Dillon that he would abandon his reelection bid. In fact, that he had to inform them in such a matter underscored the degree to which the circle had tightened in recent days to family members and a few longtime aides. The outcome may not have surprised White House and campaign officials, but the timing did. Most found out along with the rest of the world when Biden published his post on X. The same true for the Democrat National Committee officials and state party chairs. Senior Biden aides scrambled to set up separate meetings to talk to staff members for the White House and the campaign, reassuring the political aides that their jobs were safe. As it always is, the end was abrupt. But it came after a hellish 25-day stretch sparked by the most disastrous debate performance in modern American history. Biden failed to reassure Democrats, or enough of them, in follow-up public appearances. Major donors cut money to his campaign and the party. The drip, drip, drip fashion, elected officials started to call for him to drop out, and it's very public. Former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi of California, the godmother of the Democrat Party, said she still had a decision to make. He still had a decision to make after he insisted he had chosen to stay in the race. He spoke with Pelosi apparently on Saturday, although her staff has denied that. And this is what was on the horizon. This is sort of interesting. Senior Biden aides expected that Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer and House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, both Democrats from New York, were likely to publicly call for him to step aside after his meeting with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu this week. So that is, of course, you don't like to do that kind of thing when the president is meeting with world leaders. I don't know. There's still a thing about that. But I think the thought was, well, after that meeting is clear, and if he hasn't decided to get out, we will lower the boom and do it in a very public way. So, I mean, maybe we were closer to the 25th Amendment than we knew, but if we were close to the 25th Amendment to get him out to step aside from the presidency, how can we then now allow him to go forward as the president for the next however many months it is, till January 20th? How can we do that? I'm quite frankly quite concerned about this president and his ability to go forward. Republicans are calling for him to go ahead and resign from the presidency. I have such mixed emotions about that. Number one, I don't think Joe Biden has got his faculties, but the White House largely can be run by staff. It has been in the past, and so I guess they could continue that. But you see, I don't like the fact that the man has lost his faculties. I think it's a national security risk. But the solution then would be the next thing would be that she would become the acting president, Kamala, and that scares me, I think, even more. No great solutions here. No great solutions at all. And so we just have to tiptoe around and just hope and pray that nothing happens. But I mean, Can you imagine Joe Biden having to handle something like the Cuban Missile Crisis? Can you imagine Joe Biden right now having the energy and the wherewithal and the mental acuity and capacity to handle a 9/11? I can't. I can't see it. I think when this is all said and done, we're probably going to have to stop and think about the 25th Amendment again. The 25th Amendment may need some updating. It may really need to be updated because, quite frankly, it hasn't worked the way it's supposed to work. If it worked the way it's supposed to work, we would have not have had a brain-dead president for the last 3 years. It's been increasingly clear that he doesn't have the ability to go forward, and he's lost a step. He's lost his mental acuity. He is cognitively impaired, and he still is, and he's still our president, and that concerns me a great deal. So maybe the 25th Amendment, maybe there needs to be a congressional component to it. I mean, there is right now, but I mean, it has to originate with the vice president and the cabinet. And it seems that they have never had the inkling or the impetus to go forward and do that, though they clearly must have seen things that concerned them. How long could he have gone without us, really coming to terms to understand how bad it was? I am now buying into, though, the theory that they jacked him up, for the State of the Union, but they didn't really jack him up for the debate. And maybe it was. Let him go out there, show America what he really is, so we can move this thing along and get him off the ticket. Just a really not great way to have to do things. So passive aggressive, to try to get rid of a guy. There is a straightforward way to do it, but it requires a great deal of courage on the part of the vice president and his cabinet. And they never showed the impetus or interest in doing just that. 21 past the hour now. Grace Point Healthcare, if you're starting to think about, your kiddos getting back to school, and maybe some of them need physicals for the sports that they're going to play, Grace Point provides complete physicals for kids of all ages. If you're scheduling an international vacation with the remainder of the summer, or you're going on a mission trip, Grace Point offers complete travel immunizations and is CDC certified for yellow fever and all other international immunization protocols. And most importantly, because they will see you the same day or the next day, you won't have to wait days or weeks to see a doctor. That is modern medicine at your convenience. That's right. Grace Point Healthcare is affordable. It is comprehensive. It is convenient. It is medicine delivered the old-fashioned way. Located on Main Street in Franklin, 615-599-6868. Again, that's 615-599-6868 to set up your appointment.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lockboxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
Coming up at 6:30, we'll have the European Union's reaction to Joe Biden's campaign cancellation, and we'll also have today's money news. Again, that's coming up at 6:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Well, as we told you earlier, there was a big hearing up on Capitol Hill today. The director of the Secret Service, Kimberly Cheetle, was on the hot seat, really getting grilled by both Democrats and by Republicans. It did not go well, and she didn't really. She brought it on herself. I mean, you have to go into this hearing prepared to give these people some answers. And she didn't seem to be willing to do that. I mean, she didn't have a lot of information. She didn't have a timeline. She couldn't answer the basic questions that she should be ready to answer. And Nancy Mace, who was never particularly one to sort of hold her fire, really came out. Now, she used a word that, we can't say on the radio. You know the word I'm talking about here. The word that we sometimes use this to... Yeah, she was throwing that around today. And so a lot of people bleep that stuff. I just take the word and reverse it.
It's more humorous that way, I think.
It's funny that way, I think. Yep. I mean, so you have to listen carefully, but I think you'll get. Here is Nancy Mace from earlier today.
This is a yes or no series of questions. Was this a colossal failure? Yes or no?
Yes.
Was this tragedy preventable? Yes or no?
Yes.
Has the Secret Service been transparent with this committee?
Yes.
You stated earlier, Secret Service is not political. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Would you say leaking your opening statement to Punchbowl News, Politico's Playbook, and Washington Post several hours before you sent it to this committee as being political? Yes or no?
I have no idea how my statement got out.
Well, that's bullshit. You're full of ish today. You're just being completely dishonest. You are being dishonest or lying. You're being dishonest here with this committee. These are important questions that the American people want answers to, and you're just dodging and talking around it in generalities. And we had to subpoena you to be here, and you won't even answer the questions. We have asked you repeatedly to answer our questions. This isn't hard. We haven't gotten a single document or piece of information or data from you or your agency in related to the rally that we have asked you for.
Wow. There you go. Mark Green was actually in Butler, Pennsylvania today. I think I got a little something here. Yeah, where is that? But I got Mark Green. He was there, and he was walking the site of everything, and basically his comment really had to do. I've got so much sound on my page here, I can't keep up with all of it. His statement was that it's really quite shocking that we don't know the answers to our major questions as of yet. We really haven't gotten the answers that we need as we go forward here. And it seems to me that it's going to be a while before we do get these answers. I don't really like the idea that it's taking so long to get information. I mean, I have to say, this is the first time in my life I've ever agreed with Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. But she says if we're going to be waiting 6 months for the answers, that's too long. We're in the middle of a campaign. We need to know what went wrong. We need to make sure that the changes have been made to make sure that our candidates are safe. And I'm telling you, it just seems to me that we're not likely to get that anytime soon. These hearings tomorrow. It's Cheetle again in front of Mark Green's Homeland Security Committee, and she'll be joined by Christopher Wray, the director of the FBI. Now, say what you will, I don't really trust the FBI to conduct this investigation. I'm glad that there are independent investigations that are being done by Congress. That is appropriate and that is right. I don't think that I don't have a great deal of confidence that we're going to get the straight truth out of the FBI because they haven't been playing, they've been playing pretty fast and loose with the truth over recent years. I still think there are great and patriotic individuals on the front lines of the FBI, but I mean, management, I have no confidence whatsoever. But one thing that Christopher Wray has been saying and I think he's right to do so, is that, listen, all of the terrorist attack lights are blinking vibrantly red, and we need to be on high alert. It's very clear that this Secret Service detail was not on high enough alert, and there was a massive failure, tremendously massive failure. It's 6:30 now on Super Talk 99.7.
Good evening. It is 6:30, and I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. A mix of clouds and sun. We're at 80 degrees. A complete weather forecast and a traffic report are on the way. European foreign ministers react to Biden's decision to withdraw from the U.S. presidential race. With that story, here's ABC's Tom Rivers.
As EU Foreign Policy Chief Joseph Borrell in Brussels sees it, who will be in the White House will have huge implications for Europe.
It will be quite an important difference for the transatlantic relationship, depending on who is there.
But he's keeping his opinions to himself.
I don't think it's our role to go and to tell the Americans what do they have to do or to express preferences for one or the other.
One thing of concern here, though, is Kamala Harris's lack of meaningful foreign affairs experience.
Turning now to today's money news, here's ABC's Andy Field.
From ABC News, Wall Street Now. Many U.S. stocks regaining losses following last week's global CrowdStrike computer issue. Airlines took the biggest hit in that outage. Delta feeling it on Wall Street. Its stock lost 3.5%. CrowdStrike blaming a faulty computer update sent to Windows computers. Its stock down more than 8% Monday morning after an 11% drop on Friday. Big tech stocks appear to be the biggest winners. Google parent Alphabet and Tesla will report profits Tuesday. China's ruling Communist Party releasing a 50-page roadmap addressing its struggling economy and cutting interest rates to help property owners. Wall Street has its eye on politics. Bank stocks up on predictions they would see less regulations if Republicans win this fall. But President Biden's announcement he's out of the race did not seem to affect the market. One analyst saying investors thought Mr. Biden's leaving was only a matter of when, not if.
That is the latest news. Traffic and weather are next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Here's something for you. Did you know that gold is up 78% over the last 5 years? Silver up 99%? How does that compare with some of the other investments over that same time period? Meanwhile, the U.S. dollar has lost 25% of its value since 2020. The government-induced inflation is stealing your wealth, and it doesn't seem that Washington, D.C. has any plans to stop. Gold and other precious metals are a great shield against that inflation theft. You know, you got this election year going on, and the politicians will promise you that they're going to rein in spending, but you know they can't stop. They've never been able to, have they? Well, this is why no matter who is in office, gold protects you from the D.C. spending spree. Where do you go to get that protection? Well, you reach out to my friends Kyle and Hannah at Nashville Golden Coin. They will take great care of you and keep you informed on all of your precious metal investments and good opportunities. Please act now and get your shield against out-of-control government spending. Go to NashvilleGoldenCoin.com. That's NashvilleGoldenCoin.com to set up your appointment today.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
.38 minutes now past the hour of 6 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. Brian Wilson in the chair for about 22 more minutes before we hand it over to Mark Levin, the great one to carry on. It'll be interesting to see Mark's take on things throughout the evening. I'm sure he has some powerful, strong thoughts that he'll share with you, and you don't want to miss that. You know, we're going to get a taste of just how much security is around Donald Trump these days. He's coming in, I guess, this weekend to attend the Bitcoin conference. From WKRN, Nashville will be the political spotlight this week, with former President Donald Trump and other noteworthy politicians scheduled to speak at a Bitcoin conference. It will take place between July 25th and the 27th. At the Music City Center, and is billed as the largest Bitcoin conference in the world, with more than 20,000 people expected to be in attendance. I think Trump once called Bitcoin a scam, but it's clear. I mean, you got me. I don't know. I don't understand it at all.
Oh, I was hoping you would do a deep dive and explain exactly what Bitcoin is.
No, because I don't understand it. I don't get it. A lot of people don't get it, but apparently it's very valuable. I saw where it's like the original Bitcoin investment may be worth close to $1 million pretty soon. So I read something like that. Again, I don't understand it. No one knows what Trump is going to say except for Trump himself. However, we're really optimistic it's going to be a positive message that he delivers to the Bitcoin community. And in fact, we think it's going to be a historic message, says event organizer, Chief of Staff Brandon Green. Green said it is normal for someone to start as a Bitcoin skeptic and then turn into a supporter. Green also added that their team has been talking with the former president about cryptocurrency and crypto policy for a while now. That's interesting. So anyway, the conference also has other high-profile speakers, including U.S. Senators Blackburn and Haggerty, as well as NSA whistleblower Edward Snowden. Well, that's an unusual group. So that's going to happen the 25th through the 27th. I think I heard it was Saturday. He's coming. Democrats urge Harris to look for a Midwest governor for a VP pick. This from thehill.com. Democrats are urging Vice President Harris to look to the battleground states and the party's governors for her potential running mate as she consolidates Democrat support behind her nascent bid for the presidency. Harris has swiftly brought the party to her side since President Biden stepped aside. That's true. I mean, they seem to be coalescing around Kamala, although I think there is still a thin pathway for another candidate to emerge at the convention. That rapid coalescing is prompting Democrats to turn their attention to who should succeed her as vice presidential nominee. Many are looking to use what they describe as a loaded bench to best balance at the ticket. All right, so it is the first presidential level decision that a candidate has to make. I mean, you really have to look at these at people when they're running and they choose their running mate. It is their first. It's your first ability to look at them and sort of make a judgment about their judgment. Do they have good political judgment? Do they have good political instincts? Have they chosen? It's the first big decision that a presidential level decision that a candidate makes when they're running for office. Says Brian Schatz, this is the first presidential decision that Vice President Harris has, so she's got a lot of good choices ahead of her. And then you hear names. Josh Shapiro, governor of Pennsylvania. Gretchen Whitmer of Michigan. Now, I heard earlier today that Gretchen Whitmer had said that she's not interested in being a running mate. I don't know if that's true or not. I mean, I know she said it, but whether she stands by it or not, if somebody comes to you and said, no, we really need you, would she reconsider? I don't know. Roy Cooper of North Carolina, Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg, Mayor Pete. Yes, that's right. Let's have two completely unqualified people to be leading our government. Interesting. This guy's getting a lot of buzz. Mark Kelly, Democrat of Arizona, is being mentioned a lot. He's a former astronaut, married to Gabby Giffords, and has been a senator from Arizona for some time. I mean, he might be an interesting choice. Arizona apparently in trouble. I mean, Trump is doing well in Arizona and Nevada. We've also heard a lot about Governor Beshears of Kentucky as being someone that Kamala Harris should look at. And I think, honestly, if I were making the decision, I'd have to take a pretty close look at Beshears because, number one, Beshears has figured out one thing that Democrats did struggle with, and that is how to win in red states. He's won one term and then ran for re-election and won a second term. And he is a Democrat governor in a very red state. I mean, Trump won the state by 12 points. And still, Beshears has apparently found favor in the bluegrass state. Party strategists and lawmakers acknowledge Harris may need to look for a candidate that can serve as a counterweight. That's not a bad way to look at it. I'm trying to just scan this ahead. Yeah, Buttigieg, that's not going to happen. I don't have much confidence in that. I don't think that would be the way to go. Who knows, though? You never can tell. GOP senator demands that the cabinet invoke the 25th Amendment against Biden after suspending his re-election campaign. If Joe Biden is incapable of running for office, he is incapable of serving in office. It's that simple, Senator Schmidt said to Fox News Digital. Schmidt sent a letter to every member of Biden's cabinet Monday afternoon, just a day after the president suspended his reelection campaign, amid pressure from within his own party about his age and fitness to serve another term. Biden instead endorsed Kamala Harris to serve as the 2024 Democrat nominee. And while he dropped out of the race, the White House has maintained that the president will finish his first term, which concludes January 20th, 2025. The Republicans, including his GOP opponent, former President Trump, questioning his ability to serve for the remainder of his term. Schmidt on Monday sent letters to the cabinet urging them to invoke the 25th Amendment. While many have suggested the invocation of the 25th Amendment, Schmidt is the first to officially take the action. Now, they don't have to listen to him. There's nothing that requires them to do that. I think it would be in the interest of the nation. But then again, if they do that, if they say, Joe Biden, I'm sorry, we, your cabinet, and by the way, the vice president has to agree, don't think that you're capable of carrying on, then we get Kamala as acting president. And then she gets to choose who the next vice president would be. That whole 25th Amendment thing, I just don't think it's going to happen. But I mean, in one way, I think it's a shame that the 25th Amendment has not worked. On the other hand, I look at it and I go, if it did work, we'd end up with Kamala as the president. I don't know which is worse, a brain-dead Joe Biden or Kamala Harris. It's so scary where we are. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, if you find it within your ability to say a prayer to the good Lord above, we should pray for this country that things remain under control until January 20th. Because I don't think he has the ability to handle a major crisis. I just don't think he does. And the thing is, we've got people in this country who want to cause harm, who want to carry out terrorist attacks. They came right across the border because Joe Biden let them in. It would be a mess of his own making, but still it's a mess. I mean, I hope I'm wrong. I hope that they have a better beat on these people than I think they do. But I mean, if they don't, we have another crisis. Is Joe Biden up to the ability to handle a crisis? Like a 9/11 or something, God forbid a 9/11 or a Cuban Missile Crisis. And remember, on the world stage, all of our enemies in the world, we're talking about Putin, we're talking about Xi, we're talking about the North Koreans, we're talking about the Iranians and all of their proxy forces around the world, the Houthi rebels, Hamas and Hezbollah, all of those folks, they know that we've got a weakened president. Well, they try to take advantage of that on the world stage and do other things before we can, have an election. I hope the American people can see that she's not the solution. I do indeed hope. Trump is railing about Biden's decision to drop out. He posted 10 times on Truth Social between when Joe Biden dropped out and Monday morning, complaining it was unfair to the Republican Party to have to face a new opponent, suggesting Biden should not be able to remain on as president if he can't run for re-election. The Democrats pick a candidate, crooked Joe Biden. He loses the debate badly, then panics, makes mistake after mistake. He's told he can't win and decide that they will pick another candidate, probably Harris. They stole the race from Biden after he won it in the primaries. First, these people are the real threat to democracy. It's a new day, and Joe Biden doesn't remember quitting the race yesterday, he wrote this morning. He is demanding his campaign schedule and arrange talks with President Xi of China and Putin of Russia concerning the possible start of World War III. Biden is sharp, decisive, energetic, angry, and ready to go, Trump wrote mockingly in one post. It's not over. Tomorrow, crooked Joe Biden's going to wake up and forget that he dropped out of the race today, Trump wrote in another. The former president echoed calls from other Republicans for Biden to resign, at one point asking, who is running the country right now? It's not crooked Joe. He has no idea where he is. If he can't run for office, he can't run our country. Biden announced Sunday afternoon, as you know, that he wouldn't run. You know all that. He did a call-in today. Kamala had a rally with her campaign staff, which is basically the old Biden-Harris campaign staff. They've just been reconfigured. And she went in to talk to them, give them a little pep talk. She's cackling all the way through it. Get used to that. And then Biden called in to say he was going to go out and campaign with her. Oh, joy. It is now 50 minutes past the hour of 6 o'clock. Well, D.T. McCall's has been around for more than 100 years with 5 convenient locations now in Middle Tennessee. There's probably one not too far from where you live. Have you been to one? Listen, you need to go. You need to go and take a look at these places. What they've got is just about anything you might need for your home, to make your house a home. Furniture, they've got it. Appliances, they've got it. You need stuff to work out in the yard, mower, power tools, they've got it. Do you need a safe for your house, a gun safe or some other safe? Yeah, they've got that too. And listen, one of the things that has made them successful is their policy of being straightforward with people. They'll give you a price. It's a good price. It's an honest price. They won't charge you extra like the big box stores do for things like delivery, setup, and haul away. No, they won't do that at all. They give you a number, and then they honor that number, and they take care of you. And I've done a lot of business with D.T. McCall's. Each and every time, it's been a pleasurable experience. So remember, they also try to sell products that are made and manufactured in Tennessee. Don't you want your dollars to go to a Tennessee company that also does business with other Tennessee companies? Of course you do. 5 convenient locations. Learn all about them by going to their website, dtmccalls.com.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionability, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.